Rebuilding the Immortal Cultivation family. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 351 Plan. The Moon Shadow Rabbit and the five-colored firebird that Li Zhirui mentioned are both fourth-grade spiritual beasts, belonging to the Taiyin and the Taiyang, but these are not the main points. The main point is that these two spiritual beasts have no fighting power. The only outstanding feature is that they look extremely good. The Moon Shadow Rabbit is petite and exquisite, and the largest is only about 1 foot. Its pair of red eyes looks particularly pitiful, and its body is surrounded by the moon halo, which sets off its flawless white fur. The five-colored firebird has a slender body and 5 colors of feathers, but the fusion is just right, and it does not make people feel complicated. Instead, it looks very noble, and its cry is even more pleasant, like a cold spring in the mountains and a breeze in the forest. From this point, it is not difficult to see that Li Zhirui, this stinky boy, is a complete face control. In this regard, Li Zhirui, who lives with him day and night, has long known that after she grew up, she found that her brother's attitude towards good-looking and ugly appearance can be said to be heaven and earth. Of course, no matter how good-looking you are, Li Zhirui still puts on that stinky face, and at most his tone is gentle, a little bit that cannot be detected. So far, only Li Zhirui knows about this. So when he heard what Li Zhirui said, he rolled his eyes in his heart and muttered softly, "What's the use of being good-looking? Can you make your opponent soft-hearted and sympathize with you when fighting? What are you mumbling about?" Li Zhirui's words were a bit vague, and Li Zhirui didn't hear clearly. "It's okay, I'm just thinking about what kind of spiritual beast our parents will give us." Li Zhirui didn't dare to let him know that, otherwise he would ignore him for several days. It's best to have a spiritual beast like a beast or bird of prey. It would be so majestic. I think Uncle Zhaoking is very good, but it's a pity that the attributes don't match, and he has been contracted by my father." When he spoke, Li Zhirui's pair of beautiful eyes were bright and scary. Hearing this, Li Zhirui immediately didn't want to pay attention to this girl. A beast or bird of prey with the attribute of Taiyin? It's better to go to sleep. There are all kinds of things in dreams. And the parents they mentioned were worrying about the contracted spiritual beasts for the two of them. Second, Grandpa, I was so busy recently that I forgot about Cheng Shuo and Cheng Shen. They are about to start training, but they haven't prepared their spirit beasts yet, Li Zhirui tried to say. Can you ask the clan members in the dark department to help ask around? Li Zhirui looked at Li Zhirui with a smile, shook his head and refused without hesitation, saying, "You also know the importance and secrecy of the dark department. It is impossible for us to help you with private matters." Li Zhirui had guessed that this would be the result. The purpose of those words was mainly the previous sentence. Time was pressing and he needed the help of his family to find the spirit beasts with the attributes of the moon and the sun as soon as possible. "I know you've been busy these years and you're likely to forget about this, so I've already arranged for someone to inquire about it." Li Zhirui's words made Li Zhirui overjoyed, and he quickly asked, "Second grandfather, is there any good news?" "Yes, there is." Li Zhirui nodded and said, "Not long ago, didn't a great beast tide break out in Qingshan province? Several daring monks actually ran into the Qingshan mountains in the opposite direction, and their luck was also very good. Not only did they not encounter high-level monsters, but they also encountered a nest of 3 great Chaoyong crow eggs. The most important thing is that in the battle, the adult Chaoyong crow fell. In this way, there is no need to worry about the monster's revenge afterwards. They sold the bird eggs to the Qingshan Chamber of Commerce, and 3 days later, it will be the Chamber of Commerce's annual large-scale auction. If nothing unexpected happens, the Chaoyong crow will appear on the auction table." Li Zhirui was very happy. Although it was only a third-grade Chaoyong crow, it was a spiritual beast with a very obvious evolutionary route. If the bloodline is continuously tapped, it will eventually evolve into the sun god bird 3-legged golden crow. And the combat power is very good. As for the news about the Taiyin attribute spirit beast, there is also news. Li Zhirui hesitated when he said this, but this news is not certain. It is rumored that an extremely rare moon snake appeared in Canghai's Hao, south of Qingshan's Hao, but in recent years, the family has sent many clansmen to explore, but they have never found any trace of the moon snake. Li Zhirui frowned when he heard this. The moon snake is also a third-grade spirit beast, but it is rarer than the Chaoyong crow. Similarly, its evolutionary route is also very good, and it can eventually evolve into the Taiyang dragon. But the problem is that this is just a rumor. After thinking for a while, Li Zhirui said, after the auction is over, I will go to Kanghei's house to see if I can find the moon snake. At the same time, I have to trouble second grandpa to continue to inquire about the news of the Taiyang spirit beast. No problem, thank you for your hard work. What's the hard work? I just talked a lot, and it was the other tribesmen who were running around outside. I will thank them when they come back. Li Zhirui stood up and said goodbye. I'll go back and prepare the spirit stones needed for the auction. This amount of spirit stones should be paid by the family. Li Zhirui shook his head and refused, saying, thank you for your kindness, second grandpa, but this is a spirit beast for Cheng Sheng, so I'll pay for it. I heard that there are several bird eggs in this nest. Could it be that Cheng Sheng can contract several at once? Besides, the family also needs a new third-level spirit beast. Li Zhirui chuckled and said, I won't hide it from you, old man. The purpose of doing this is to ensure that Cheng Sheng can contract the best Chaoyong crow. Li Shiking was stunned when he heard this, and then laughed and scolded, you kid still has so many tricks. Well, since you have this plan, let's do as you say. Just give the remaining Chaoyong crow to the family. Anyway, as an alchemy master, you have no shortage of spiritual stones. Li Zhirui was a little embarrassed. Ordinary alchemy masters did not lack spiritual stones, but in order to speed up the growth of spiritual medicines, he did not have many spiritual stones on hand, and it was very likely that he could not take the nest of bird eggs. I have to find a way to make some spiritual stones, but after thinking about it, his only way was to sell the spiritual pills in his hand. Second grandpa, I'm going back first. After saying that, Li Zhirui set off. After returning to the cave, he told Jiang Fengwu all the news he learned from Li Shiking and his plan. Second grandfather really cares about us and has been thinking about this matter all the time, Jiang Fengwu said with emotion, and I think if you don't ask, he will probably do everything silently. Your plan is also right. The grade and bloodline of Chaoyangwu are not bad. Maybe Cheng Sheng is lucky, and some of them have ancestral bloodline. We buy them all, so as to avoid conflicts with our clansmen and hurt their feelings. How many spirit stones do you have left? Jiang Fengwu asked the most critical question. Chapter 352 Transaction. Li Zhirui did not say that he did not have many spirit stones in his hand. After all, spirit stones were still easy for him to earn. He could get a lot of spirit stones by picking a batch of spiritual medicines from the space and refining a few furnaces of spiritual pills. As for the spirit stones on Jiang Fengwu's hand, in addition to the spirit stones accumulated in the past, there were only the hard work fees earned when the family asked her to arrange the formation, and the contribution points for completing the family tasks. The scattered spirit stones added up were only a few 100,000 or a few 100,000 spirit stones. Of course, the price of Chaoyangwu was not expensive. These 100,000 spirit stones were enough to take down the nest of bird eggs. After all, no matter how far it could evolve in the future, it was only a third grade one now, and its bloodline had not been promoted. It won't take many spirit stones, don't worry. Although Li Zhirui said so, Jiang Fengwu still took out 100,000 spirit stones and said, I am Shenzhi's mother, and I should give a share of spirit stones. Okay, she said so. What else could Li Zhirui say? He could only accept the spirit stones honestly. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye it was the day of the auction. Li Zhirui did not act alone, but brought along 5 or 6 clansmen who were attending the auction. The family also needed to buy some spiritual objects, and he could also act as a bodyguard. Are all the people here? The elder who led the team nodded repeatedly and said stiffly, they are already here, then let's go. Li Zhirui did not waste any words, and immediately summoned the spiritual boat and took everyone to Qingshan province. Perhaps because of Li Zhirui's presence, the younger generations behaved very restrained. Fortunately, the two places were not far apart, and they arrived at the auction site in just half an hour at full speed. Welcome Senior Li to the Qingshan auction. The monk who was waiting at the door spotted Li Zhirui and his group immediately, walked 3 steps away, and said eagerly, the private room upstairs has been prepared for you, please follow me. Although Li Zhirui has rarely appeared in recent years and is very low-key in the outside world, his identity is not a secret. The middle and high-level people of some large chambers of commerce and major forces nearby all know what he looks like. Yet, Li Zhirui responded coldly and followed him into the auction hall. The long queue of people had long been accustomed to this situation. No one dared to complain. What if they were Giantins Henrin and you were just a small key training monk? The juniors behind him who were going out for the first time saw this scene, and their eyes showed a touch of longing and yearning. They also hoped that they could be respected. After the group entered the private room, Li Zhirui suddenly said, "I have something to do. I'll be back soon." Then he turned to the monk who led the way and said, "Let's go." Okay, although he didn't understand what Li Zhirui was going to do, he just had to obey him honestly, and he was smart not to ask in front of others. After closing the door, he asked in a low voice and respectfully, "I wonder if Senior Li has any instructions. I have some second level and third level water refined elixirs in my hand. Do you want to take them?" Yes. Before Li Zhirui's voice fell, he couldn't wait to agree. Everyone knows that Li Zhirui is a master of alchemy. Whether it is from the efficacy, elixir toxicity, or other aspects, it is better than other third-level elixirs. Now that they have finally met, how can they miss such a good opportunity? The two went to a secret room, and then a member of the Chamber of Commerce with a higher status reached to deal with Li Zhirui. He paid 30 bottles of second-level elixirs and 20 bottles of Xingingen, and got a total of 150,000 spirit stones. After the transaction was completed, both parties were very satisfied. If you want to sell elixirs, don't forget us. The Chamber of Commerce will give you a very good price. Before leaving, the man wanted to continue trading with Li Zhirui, but he just laughed it off. The Li family had the Nanya Chamber of Commerce, a top chamber of commerce spanning 2 states, as their trading partner. Even if the two offered the same price for spiritual stones, or even more from the Qingshan Chamber of Commerce, the Li family would not agree. Because in addition to spiritual stones, the Nanya Chamber of Commerce can bring more resources to the Li family, and these are what the Qingshan Chamber of Commerce cannot give. As for the transaction between the two families, everyone knows it now, but the Li family is very careful and has not been caught. Shenlai Mountain and Zhuanfa Pavilion still care about their face, so it is not good to attack the Li family without any evidence. After Li Zhirui returned to the private room, the tribesmen were a little curious about what he had done, but they did not dare to ask, and only dared to look at him from time to time with their peripheral vision. Ding, ding, ding. Soon, a crisp bell sounded, and the door of the auction hall closed. Then a middle-aged man walked out of the stage. After introducing himself, he opened today's auction. The first auction item is the third-level Red Sun Fire Bead. I believe everyone knows about the evil cultivator disaster not long ago. The Red Sun Fire Bead is a yang object, which has a strong restraining effect on evil cultivators and can also resist the inner demons. The auctioneer shouted in a high tone, "The starting price is 10,000 spirit stones, and each bid must not be less than 500 spirit stones." Li Zhirui was unmoved by this. What the auctioneer said was alright, but there was a problem. These effects were very weak and very useless, so the price was so low. However, those foundation building cultivators were very enthusiastic about it and kept bidding, but they didn't notice that all the private rooms had not spoken. "Uncle Jiu, do we want to bid for this spiritual object?" the leading elder asked cautiously. In his opinion, this was a third-level spiritual object, and the price was so cheap, so it would definitely not be a loss to buy it back. No need, this spiritual object is not precious, it's just rare. Therefore, these low-level cultivators had never heard of this treasure and were deceived by the auctioneer. Not long after, the Red Sun Fire Pearl was sold at a high price of 23,000 spiritual stones. Li Zhirui was also not interested in the next few auction items, thinking to himself, no wonder Qingshan Chamber of Commerce has no reputation. Most of the spiritual objects they took out are just gold and jade on the outside but rotten on the inside. The next auction item. I believe everyone has heard of its legendary experience. The auctioneer briefly talked about those lucky foundation establishment cultivators to add value to the Chaoyong Crow eggs, and then formally introduced, the third-level Chaoyong Crow eggs have a rich 3-legged golden crow bloodline. As long as their bloodline is continuously improved, one day they will evolve into true 3-legged golden crow, the sunbird. There are a total of 6 Chaoyong Crow eggs in this auction. The starting price of each is 15,000, and the increase must not be less than 1,000 spirit stones. Li Zhirui did not rush to speak, because many times, being too anxious is not a good thing. If he could not wait to start bidding, someone might have other ideas. Chapter 353 Interest. In fact, Li Zhirui's worry was a bit unnecessary. He was not stupid. No matter how much you said, Everyone knew the actual situation. They knew that cultivating spirit beasts was not a simple matter. Especially for those foundation-building cultivators, their wealth was not rich to begin with. The resources they had were not enough for themselves. What could they use to cultivate Chaoyuan? So Li Zhirui waited for a long time, but no one bid. Seeing that the auctioneer was anxious and kept emphasizing the advantages of Chaoyuan, he slowly said, 90,000 spirit stones, I want them all. The auctioneer was relieved when he heard this. Although it was only the lowest price, he could get a commission if he sold it. If it failed to sell, he would not only not get a spirit stone, but also lose face. 90,000 for one time. Although he was eager to sell these bird eggs immediately, the rules were the rules, so he could only bid slowly. As for whether there would be anyone bidding, he would never think about such an impossible thing. 100,000. All the bird eggs, I hope you can help me, but life is always full of drama. Just when the auctioneer was about to drop the hammer, a magnetic voice suddenly sounded. Li Zhirui frowned immediately. There was no other beast controlling force nearby except the Wang family of the rare beast pavilion. But the Wang family was good at beast controlling. I had never heard that they could breed spirit beasts. Why did they suddenly speak up this time? Or was it other forces? But after thinking about it, he didn't think of any force nearby that didn't get along with the Li family. At most, they had never interacted with each other. 120,000, Li Zhirui smiled lightly and said, since you said you can help me, why don't you withdraw? After all, I was the first one to bid, 150,000, please be kind to me. These bird eggs are of great use to me. My Wang family is willing to give you a certain amount of compensation afterwards, 200,000. Sorry, these bird eggs are also very important to me. A dark light flashed in Li Zhirui's eyes. If he couldn't get these bird eggs now, he would have to use other means. The other cultivators watched the two of them go back and forth, constantly raising the price. The spiritual object, which was originally only 90,000 spiritual stones, has now risen to 200,000. Wang Hao in the private room was furious. He came out suddenly this time, and he just happened to run into this auction. He didn't have many spiritual stones on him, and the limit was 200,000. As for why he wanted to get these 6 bird eggs, it was because he had a 3rd-level spiritual beast that was seriously injured by Yinha not long ago, and these bird eggs were good things with full of yang energy. He wanted to take them down to heal the contracted spiritual beast and restore its strength as soon as possible. If it was only a few tens of thousands of spiritual stones, he would be willing to spend it. After all, it was for the healing of the spiritual beast, but now it needed 200,000. Wang Haoai was not unable to take it out, but he was reluctant. Since soft means don't work, I have to use hard means. Don't blame me for being cruel when the time comes. I gave you a chance. Wang Hao's eyes flashed with a violent and bloodthirsty red light, and he instantly became murderous, frightening his clansmen to stiffen all over. 200,000 once. 200,000 3 times. Deal. Congratulations to this senior for getting what he wanted. The auctioneer banged the wooden hammer. Li Zhirui was relieved when he saw that he had obtained the spirit beast eggs. Shenjie had his first contracted spirit beast. I hoped these 6 spirit beast eggs can produce a good Chaoyuan. The other clan members were very envious when they heard this. They didn't have such treatment at the beginning. They were randomly selected from the spirit beasts cultivated by the family. Li Zhirui was no longer in the mood to participate in the next auction, but the spirit objects needed by the family had not been purchased yet, so he could only sit in the private room board. Unknowingly, the auction had come to an end, and now the last auction item was on the stage, a 3rd-level top-grade magic weapon. Most of the Jiandam cultivators present went down to bid, and the price skyrocketed. In the end, it was bought by someone at an extremely high price. Even Li Zhirui was stunned when he heard the price. This amount of spirit stones could buy a very good 4th-level magic weapon. Let's go. This auction was a great success. Li Zhirui got the Chaoyuan eggs, and other members of the clan also completed the tasks assigned by the clan. Oh, if we had known that you needed these spirit beast eggs, we would not have auctioned them and given them to you directly, the manager of the Chamber of Commerce said exaggeratedly when he saw Li Zhirui coming to get the spirit beast eggs. Fortunately, it's not too late now. You don't have to give me the 200,000 spirit stones, thank you for your kindness, but I don't want to receive gifts without merit. I appreciate it. Li Zhirui waved his hands repeatedly and refused with a clear attitude. Just 200,000 spirit stones, And you want him to owe you a favor? It's a beautiful thought. The manager was a little disappointed, but he didn't force it. This kind of thing is about mutual consent. If you force it, it's not friendship, but offending people. Li Zhirui smiled and said goodbye to the other party, and then left with a group of clansmen. When he walked out of the auction house, he suddenly felt a cold gaze. Without thinking too much, he knew who this person was, the Wang family cultivator who didn't get the spirit beast egg. I would like to see your Wang family's ability. It's just right, then we can settle all the old and new hatreds together. Li Zhirui was furious in his heart. If he dared to rob on the road, he would blame him for his cruel means. When Li Shiqing broke through and was consolidating his realm, 2 Wang family cultivators secretly went to the island and wanted to plunder the family inheritance. Although they were finally killed by Li Shiqing, who came out of retreat, the account was finally recorded. And for so many years, the 2 families were too far away, and the Li family was out of reach, so they had never taken revenge. Today, maybe there is a chance to get some interest. Li Zhirui walked out of the fairy city with his clansmen without a word. They had only left for less than 100 miles, and Wang Haoyi rushed out impatiently. Put down the 6 Chaoyuan eggs, and I will spare your lives with mercy, otherwise you will die without a burial place, Wang Haoyi shouted arrogantly, not taking Li Zhirui, the mid-stage giant, seriously at all. Really? Li Zhirui sneered. It's still unclear who will die here today. Before he finished speaking, green light swept across the sky. Looking closely, he found that it was actually composed of sharp arrows. As Li Zhirui's mind moved, countless sharp arrows poured out, as if to pierce the sky and the earth. You dare to show off your skills in front of an expert, Wang Haoyi sneered disdainfully, and casually made a move. A light curtain appeared out of thin air and pinned him upside down. Crack! But when the first wooden arrow fell on the defensive spiritual light, he realized how wrong his previous thoughts were. But in the blink of an eye, the spiritual light was completely shattered. Chapter 354 Satisfaction. Wang Haoyi's face changed drastically. He didn't expect Li Zhirui's strength to be so strong. He easily broke his defense. For a while, he could only respond hastily and hurriedly sacrificed his magic weapon. He saw the sword box flashing with spiritual light, and then a sword flew out, and the sword energy was everywhere, trying to block the wooden arrow. Wood chips were all over the sky, blocking everyone's sight, but the next moment, a shrill scream suddenly came from inside. It was a pity that it was not Wang Haoyi who was injured, but the spirit beast he summoned at the critical moment. Wang Haoyi was still a step slower when he took action, so the mana output was not enough. After offsetting part of the wooden arrow, the sword energy did not have much power left. Seeing that the attack was about to fall on him, Wang Haoyi could only cruelly summon the spirit beast and use it as a meat shield to protect himself. Although he liked this spirit beast because of its extraordinary fighting power, it was far less important than his own life. Moreover, the Wang family controlled the spirit beasts by force through external objects, such as the beast control ring. There was no so-called affection between them, so Wang Haoyi did not feel any pity for using it as a meat shield. However, the Li family members were somewhat reluctant, especially the young people who had just started out. They were well protected by the family and had not experienced any darkness. They were innocent. Li Zhirui did not comment too much on this. After all, whether this kind of mentality is good or bad depends on one's own situation and cannot be generalized. However, as an elder, he naturally hopes that everyone can develop in a good direction and keep their mentality pure and clean. A slender white tiger appeared in front of him. On the fur that was originally as white as silk, there were many red and black wounds, and there was a hint of coldness. This is a third-grade white crystal pupil tiger. The strange pupil has the special ability to see through hypocrisy. Li Zhirui also knew why Wang Haoyi wanted to take the Chaoyuan black egg. He was probably trying to use the extreme yang power in the black egg to solve the cold and yin in the tiger monster's body. You deserve to die, the embarrassed Wang Haoyi suddenly roared, scaring the younger generation to tremble all over. They were cautiously on guard against the other party. Even if they were not strong enough, they wanted to do something. How? Li Zhirui sneered, with murderous intent surging in his eyes. It seems that you haven't seen the situation clearly, so I'll work harder and let you calm down earlier. Before he finished speaking, Qianling had already flown to the top of his head, and the thick roots shot out, as if trying to penetrate Wang Haoyi's body. The speed was so fast that he couldn't dodge at all. He could only control the spirit beast to block in front of him, and he retreated violently. Unfortunately, Wang Haoai was about to act when he was seen through by Li Zhirui. Pieces of bamboo leaves flew out, blocking his way, forcing him to defend on the spot. Clang, a sound of metal and stone colliding rang out continuously. When all the bamboo leaves were consumed, the defensive aura protecting Wang Haoai, although dimmed a lot, was still intact overall. Ho ha, you are just like that. Wang Haoai laughed uncontrollably when he saw this, his expression full of sarcasm and disdain. Then his expression suddenly changed, and he looked at Li Zhirui as if he was looking at a dead person. But before he could do anything, vines suddenly appeared, entangled with the thick roots that followed, and turned into a prison, trapping Wang Haoai and his spirit beast in it. Not good. If Wang Haoai still didn't understand at this time, he would really be a fool. Everything Li Zhirui did just now was just to trap him so that he wouldn't catch the opportunity to escape. It's a pity that he knew it too late. Because once the cage was formed, Wang Haoai could be sentenced to death. Li Zhirui showed no mercy to Wang Haoai. No matter how he cried and begged for mercy, he killed him very decisively. And because he was not sure whether Wang Haoai had told the Wang family monks that he was going to do something independently, in order to keep it secret, Li Zhirui spent some time to kill all the Wang family monks. While killing those monks, Li Zhirui also observed the reactions of the younger generations behind him. He found that although their faces were a little pale, their expressions were still good, and they did not show any disgust or dislike. In the past, the family protected you and did not want you to be exposed to the darkness of the immortal world too early, but now you have grown up and you must accept some things, Li Zhirui warned. If you don't want to end up like this one day, either act carefully or be strong enough. Thank you for your advice, Grandpa Ancestor, we will definitely remember it in our hearts. Several younger generations stood up first, and the others followed suit. Li Zhirui nodded with satisfaction. He was indeed a new generation of elite seedlings cultivated by the family. His qualities in all aspects were indeed good. As long as he insisted on his original intention and stuck to his original heart, he would not dare to say that he had reached the golden elixir stage, but there would be absolutely no problem in building the foundation. It has been delayed for a few days. It is time to go back. After saying that, he controlled the spirit ship and rushed towards Banyan Island. As soon as everyone returned to the clan, Li Shiking sent someone to find Li Zhirui, wanting to ask about the situation of this auction. After all, it took several days for him to come back for no reason. Did you encounter anything outside? Li Zhirui nodded and told Li Shiking everything about their encounter with Wang Haoai and the things that happened when they were squatting on the Wang family cultivators. Well, since we have started, we must cut the grass and root it out, Li Shiking said in agreement. Li Shilian, who was standing by, asked about the auction. Zhirui, did you get those Chow Yong Crow eggs? I got them, but I can't see any difference now. I can only wait for Shenjia to come out of Linghun and let him hatch these eggs himself. We'll see then. Most spirit beasts have a baby bird complex, especially bird spirit beasts. It's easier to cultivate feelings between each other by letting Li Chengsheng hatch Chow Yong Crow. What are you going to do with the remaining Chow Yong Crows? Li Zhirui raised his eyebrows slightly. It turned out that they were waiting for him here. However, he would not regret what he had said before. He immediately promised, Grandpa Yan, don't worry, the remaining 5 Chow Yong Crows will be given to the family. Okay, Li Shilian didn't feel embarrassed. He really hoped that the family could have more third-grade spirit beasts for the clan members to choose from, so he is now working hard in the great cause of cultivating high-quality spirit beasts. You know, if the spirit beast is of high grade when practicing the Wanling Sutra, it will increase the cultivation of the cultivator to a certain extent. Although it is not much, it is better than nothing, isn't it? Oh, right, Li Shilian suddenly remembered something that was related to Li Zhirui. While he was here, he asked directly, I heard that Deking's Taoist partner Mu Linger is pregnant, thank you for your support. Chapter 355, Pretending to be a Monster. Li Shiking was a little surprised when he heard this. He didn't know about this, but he also knew that the importance of this matter to the family was no less than those Chow Yong Crows, and even more important. You know, this is the first batch of mixed blood spirit beasts in the family with the blood of the 4th grade green turtle, which means that they have better qualifications and are more likely to break through the 4th level than other 3rd grade spirit beasts. And as long as you are willing to spend time and resources to cultivate, sooner or later, you will cultivate a 4th-grade green turtle with a bloodline that returns to its ancestral ancestor. By then, the Li family will have a group of 4th-grade spirit beasts. Li Zhirui was not surprised that Li Zhilian knew about this. After all, he was the old man who managed the family's spirit beasts, and Deking was very likely to have asked him so that he could take better care of Mulinger. Yes, Li Zhirui nodded and answered what Li Zhilian wanted to ask next, but about a batch of little spirit turtles, let Deking and the others decide for themselves, but generally speaking, the mother beast will only live with the cubs for a period of time, and then let them go and let them learn to survive on their own. But Deking and Mulinger are very intelligent, and they must have feelings for their offspring. It is unknown how they will arrange their descendants. Okay, I'll go talk to Deking when the time comes. Li Zhilian understood that this was Li Zhirui's respect for the contracted spirit beast, so he did not ask any more questions. If there is nothing else, I will go back first. Seeing the two elders nod, Li Zhirui turned around and left after greeting them. After returning to the cave, Zhang Fengwu instantly occupied his entire eye socket. Finally you are back. If you don't come back, Shenzhe, Shu'er and others will come back. Li Zhirui calculated in his mind for a while, and smiled. Isn't there still several days? Besides, how could I miss such a big event? It's okay as long as you still remember. Zhang Fengwu nodded with satisfaction, and then asked about the ownership of Chao Yuanwulan and why he came back so late. Li Zhirui told her everything, which made her feel distressed. She hurriedly urged him, go back to the monks quickly. We can talk about it tomorrow if there is anything. Okay. Li Zhirui was really tired after walking all the way, especially because he had not rested for several days to guard the monks of the Wang family. Even though he was a giant monk, he couldn't stand it now. Time passed like flowing water, and soon it was the day when the Linghu Academy was released once every 3 years. In other words, the children who had been training their muscles and bones 3 years ago could start practicing now. And Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu's 2 children were among them. Dad, Mom. Shu'er misses you so much. After a while, Li Chengshuo ran out with his brother, and saw Li Zhirui and the others at first sight. He directly abandoned the brother who had his sister control and rushed towards them. Shu'er, since you are back, you should have a good rest at home for a few days. Zhang Fengwu looked at the thin Li Chengshuo and felt distressed, but she also knew that this was the foundation of the Li family. It was almost impossible to change it before there was a problem. Unexpectedly, Li Chengshuo objected and said, Mom. There is no need to rest for so long. We have to practice as soon as possible and break through the first level of key training. Okay, although it was only 3 short years, the personalities of the two were already different from what they remembered. If you have anything to say, let's talk about it when we get back. Let's go. Li Zhirui interrupted the mother and daughter who were about to continue chatting, and turned to Li Chengsheng and whispered, Shenzhe, I have brought you a surprise. The family of 4 turned to the cave, and then took Li Chengsheng into a room specially used to place spirit beast eggs, but now it was empty, with only 6 eggs as big as a baby's fist. Shenzhe, these 6 Chaoyangwu are the gifts from your father and mother to you. Are you satisfied? Satisfied. Thank you, father and mother. Li Chengshen, who was always indifferent, had a rare excitement on his face. Although the rank of Chaoyangwu was not as good as he had imagined before, it was still good in other aspects. Most importantly, it was very beautiful. The whole body was golden, as if it was cast from gold. Its eyes were as sharp as knives, and its sharp claws were enough to tear everything apart. Moreover, it was a large spiritual bird and could be used as a flying magic weapon. Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu were very satisfied with his reaction. It was worth spending so many spiritual stones. Dad, Mom, what about me? I don't have a gift, Li Chengshuo on the side asked impatiently, looking at the two with expectation. It was a pity that she was destined to be disappointed. Li Zhirui had no surprise prepared for her, or it was too late. Don't you want Shu'er anymore? Li Chengshuo's big round eyes were instantly covered with water light, and his small body revealed a strong sadness. Why don't you want Shu'er? Li Zhirui immediately assured, Sure, don't worry, I have found the trace of a suitable contracted spirit beast for you, and it is an extremely rare moon snake. I will leave when these spirit beast eggs hatch. Really? Li Chengshuo fluttered her eyes, and tiny tears hung on her long eyelashes, but she was cheering in her heart. As a member of the beast-taming family, and with a relatively special qualification, she knew about most of the spirit beasts with Taiyan attributes. Among them, the Taiyan dragon is the most powerful and extraordinary, and it is also the most suitable for her heart, and the moon snake is the bloodline degeneration of the Taiyan dragon. Of course it's true, Daddy will never lie to Shuo, Li Zhirui immediately assured. Of course, he saw that Li Changshuo was pretending to be weird, but his daughter, of course, must be spoiled. Hey, I know Daddy is the best. Li Changshuo burst into laughter in an instant, looking at Li Zhirui with a flattering face. Zhang Fengwu on the side laughed. You are such a clever little girl, Shenzhe. After these Chaoyangwu eggs hatch, you choose the one with the best bloodline to contract, and the others will be handed over to your great-grandfather Lian, who will train them. Li Shengsheng didn't react to the first half of the sentence, but when he heard that he had to hand over the Chaoyangwu, his face suddenly showed a trace of entanglement and reluctance, and said, Mom, I want to take care of the other Chaoyangwu myself. Zhang Fengwu was a little surprised, and then asked, Shenzhe, are you going to become a beast trainer in the future? Li Chengsheng shook his head. Beast trainers need to come into contact with a large number of spirit beasts of various attributes, but he is only interested in spirit beasts with sun attributes. I just want to train them myself. Li Zhirui thought about it, and then agreed, saying, I'll tell the family about this matter, but for the training of Chaoyangwu, if you have time, ask Grandpa Yan more. He is very good at raising beasts. Li Shengsheng replied very concisely with one word. Chapter 356 Hatching. Since the two of them were not young anymore and had already started practicing, they needed an independent and quiet space. In addition, the young couple Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu also needed a private space, so Li Zhirui specially opened 2 quiet rooms for Li Chengsheng and Li Changshuo to live in. They wanted to move out directly, but Zhang Fengwu disagreed. The reason was very strong. That is, the spiritual energy outside was not as rich as their own cave, which would lead to a decrease in the speed of practice and thus delay the practice. You know, Li Zhirui's cave is the core spiritual cave of this third-level spiritual vein, which is the so-called spiritual eye. Even Li Shiking's cave is not as rich in spiritual energy as this cave. Just practice with peace of mind. Li Zhirui smiled and said, strive to break through as soon as possible. If any one of you breaks through the second level of key training first, you will get a small gift. Of course, you can't break through for the sake of breaking through. You must lay a solid foundation and pass my assessment before you can achieve results. It must be said that their qualifications that are almost like heavenly spiritual roots are very terrifying. When others are still struggling at the first level of key training, the brother and sister have already surpassed them. But this cultivation speed is too fast. It does not match the qualifications of the two of them known to the outside world. You know, in order to protect them, Li Zhirui advertised that they were 3 spiritual roots with better qualifications, but because the purity of the spiritual roots was higher, they could barely be compared with double spiritual roots. But the current cultivation speed of the two of them does not seem to be barely comparable to double spiritual roots. If it continues like this, it may be spread by some ill-intentioned tribesmen. Refining mana can not only reduce their cultivation speed, but also have a great benefit for their future cultivation. Okay, I will work hard. Li Changshuo glanced at Li Chengsheng on the side and said affirmatively, brother, I advise you to admit defeat as soon as possible, otherwise I will win. Really? Li Chengsheng did not say much, but looked confident, as if the reward belonged to him. HMPH, Li Changshuo snorted coldly, when the results come out, you should just bow your head and admit defeat. Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu looked at the two people who were confronting each other, and they felt amused in their hearts, but they did not speak to stop them. They let them compete, because the sense of urgency and competition would give them better motivation, and besides, their brother and sister did not hurt their friendship because of such things. The following day seemed to be accelerated. Li Chengsheng was very busy, and most of the time he would not stay in the cave, but would ask Li Shilian how to hatch and cultivate Chaoyangwu. The rest of the time was mostly used for cultivation by him to ensure that he would not fall too far behind Li Changshuo. And Li Changshuo would certainly not miss such a good opportunity, and he practiced harder to ensure that he could surpass his brother. A few months later, the brother and sister entered the quiet room one after the other and began this breakthrough journey. There was no problem with the breakthrough of the key training realm. For them, it was as simple as eating and drinking water. They only needed to see Li Zhirui's examination to determine the ranking. This time, Li Zhirui will be better. I said before that the winner will get a small surprise, so now is the time to exchange the surprise." After that, Li Zhirui took out a jade bottle, which contained 10 jade spirit pills with pill patterns and almost no pill poison. "I hope Shu'er can practice well, but don't practice too fast." Zhang Fengwu and Li Chengshuo were talking in private, and Li Zhirui came to Li Chengsheng and asked softly, "Do you know why you lost?" "I know." Li Chengsheng knew it clearly in his heart. Li Zhirui knew his eldest son's character and continued, "As cultivators, our cultivation is the foundation, and other external things can be discarded. Chao Yang Wu, and your future contracted spirit beast, you can spend a lot of time and energy on them, but you can't delay your own practice because of them. This kid is smart, and now he can remember some warnings. Do you understand?" Li Zhirui lowered his body slightly, looked at Li Chengshuo equally, and asked. "I know, Dad, don't worry, this won't happen again." Li Zhirui nodded with satisfaction. A few days later, the Chaoyong crow that Li Chengsheng had taken good care of finally hatched and began to break out of its shell. On this day, Li Zhirui, Zhang Fengwu, Li Chengshuo, and Li Shilian, who had heard the news and rushed over, were all watching from a distance, not daring to get too close, lest the young bird take a fancy to them at first sight. As time went on, the movement of the Chaoyong crow breaking its shell became louder and louder. It can be seen that the 6 spirit beast eggs are very strong, and none of them are dead or bad eggs. It can be regarded as a big happy event, and it is a good start. Zhirui, do you think there will be a Chaoyong crow with a bloodline returning to its ancestral lineage among these 6 spirit beast eggs? Li Shilian asked expectantly. If there is one from the beginning, then the family will get a stronger spirit beast tribe, and it will also save him a lot of time, manpower, material resources, financial resources, etc. I'm not sure, I hope so, but for things like this, Li Zhirui can't say for sure. About half an hour later, all 6 Chaoyong crows were born. Because they were far away, Li Zhirui and others could not see clearly. When they got closer, they saw the surprise and joy on Li Chengsheng's face. Could it be? Li Shilian thought of something in an instant, and asked anxiously, "Shenzhe, did the 6 Chaoyong crows have their bloodline reverted?" "That's right." Li Chengsheng's usual calm and indifferent tone was filled with joy and happiness this time, and it seems that the awakened bloodline of that small family is not low. Everyone looked in the direction of his finger and saw a Chaoyong crow that was larger than the other Chaoyong crows, with bright eyes. Although the feathers had not grown out yet, the golden fluff was more dazzling than the ordinary Chaoyong crows. Good, good, Li Shilian was overjoyed and cheered. Li Zhirui and others were also very happy and said, "Shenzhe, you can contract this Chaoyong crow as your first spiritual beast." Yes, Li Chengsheng would certainly not refuse such a thing. He immediately bent down and picked it up, preparing to return to the quiet room to sign the contract. As for the remaining 5 Chaoyong crows, he finally decided to hand them over to the family and let the family train and develop a group. Li Chengsheng admitted that he had thought too simply before and did not consider whether he had so much time and energy, especially since he is now in a stage of rapid development. He should spend more time on cultivation rather than cultivating his hobbies. Another thing is that he has never thought about whether he can support 6 Chaoyong crows with his own wealth. Sorry, there's only one update today because I went hiking and visiting graves. I am so tired. Chapter 357 Leaving. Uncle, I'll trouble you with these Chaoyong crows. Although he had made the decision, Li Chengsheng couldn't help but feel a little reluctant, and it showed on his face. Ha, what's the trouble? Li Shilian laughed. If you miss them, just come to me. Okay, Li Chengsheng happily agreed, and then said goodbye to the elders, went to the room and signed a contract with a Chaoyong crow in his arms. Then I'll go back too. After saying that, Li Shilian took the 5 Chaoyong crows and strode away. Li Chengshuo on the side was very envious, and hurriedly ran to Li Zhirui and asked, "Dad, don't forget the moon snake you promised me before." Although Li Chengshuo is eccentric and a little arrogant, he has a sense of propriety in his heart and never makes any excessive demands. For example, now, she is very envious in her heart, but she waited until Li Shilian left before telling Li Zhirui about this. Ha, don't worry, I remember. I will go out in a few days to Kanghae's how to find a moon snake for you. Li Zhirui laughed and rubbed her head, and told her his plan. Is it too hasty? Zhang Fengwu asked worriedly. Li Zhirui shook his head. I have been planning this for many days, and everything is ready. Don't worry, Dad, if there is danger, you don't go. I don't want a moon snake, I will find another spirit beast contract, Li Zhirui said uneasily. Sure knows to worry about Daddy. Li Zhirui felt a warm current in his heart, and said softly, Dad, I am very powerful, don't worry. The family of 3 was chatting warmly here, and Li Chengsheng had also completed the contract. As soon as he opened the door, he met 3 pairs of straight eyes. Dad, Mom, sure, I have signed a contract with Yanyu, although Chao Yangwu is a 3rd-grade spirit beast, it has just been born. Its strength, consciousness, and other aspects are naturally not as good as Li Chengsheng, who has already broken through the 2nd level of key training, so the contract was signed very smoothly. Next, in addition to practicing, you should spend more time to get familiar with Yanyu. It is best to cooperate with him tacitly, so that you can use him as if he were your arm. Li Zhirui patiently talked to Li Chengsheng about the details of cultivating spirit beasts. Although Linghu Academy also teaches them, they are far less detailed and specific than what he said. Li Chengsheng wrote them down one by one, and even Li Changshu, who was on the side, although he had not yet contracted a spirit beast, also listened with his ears perked up. Once he started talking, he talked endlessly. Li Chengsheng and Li Changshu listened carefully, which made Li Zhirui very satisfied. As a result, he became more and more involved in the conversation, and even forgot the time. Zhang Fengwu pushed him gently, and Li Zhirui came back to his senses. He cleared his throat and said, Okay, I'm tired after talking so much. I'll burn a jade slip these days, and you 2 brothers and sisters can take a look at it, but spirit beasts are not all the same. Even the same spirit beasts will be different when they are cultivated, so the specifics still need you to judge for yourself. Got it, thank you, Dad. With that, the 2 bowed. Practice well, don't let me and your mother down. In the next few days, Li Zhirui was in the alchemy room, refining as many 3rd-level elixirs as possible. After all, he didn't know when he would return. So preparing more elixirs was also a precaution. The day before he was going out, he came out of the alchemy room and went to meet Li Shiking with the elixirs he had refined during this period. The main thing is that he will go out to look for the moon snake, and at the same time give the elixir to Li Shiking, and take care of Zhang Fengwu and his mother and son. Although no one dares to bully them under normal circumstances, what if something unexpected happens? You can go by yourself. You don't need to worry about the family's affairs. I will also ask the clan members to pay more attention to your family's affairs. Li Shiking gave him a reassurance. But if it is impossible, it is better not to force it. There are thousands of spiritual beasts in the world, and you can always find a spiritual beast suitable for sure. This is true, but a precious Taiyan spiritual beast like the moon snake, which is very suitable for Li Changshu, is a rare existence. How can it be easily found again? Second, Grandpa, you know me. I am very cautious and will not put myself in a dangerous situation, Li Zhirui repeatedly assured him before leaving smoothly. That night. Are we leaving tomorrow? Isn't it too hasty? Why don't we wait a little longer? Zhang Fengwu said reluctantly. You've just come back and you're leaving again. Thank you for your hard work. Shenzhe and Shu'er have to bother you to worry about them. Li Zhirui felt a little embarrassed, but there was nothing he could do. What's the matter? Zhang Fengwu shook his head, looked at him seriously, and said, Zhirui, you must be careful. Our whole family is waiting for you. I will. As they chatted, the sky gradually brightened. Because he didn't want to alarm too many people, and because he had already said goodbye to the elders of the family yesterday, Li Zhirui was ready to leave Banyan Island when it was light. But when he left, there were still many people seeing him off. There were no bright and beautiful words, but they just hoped that Li Zhirui would return safely. Mom, go back. Li Changshu didn't persuade him until he could no longer see Li Zhirui. Zhang Fengwu didn't say anything, but silently supported his daughter's arm and slowly left. As for Li Zhirui, he was in the sea area slightly away from Banyan Island, and he disguised himself a little to avoid being discovered. But he didn't expect that as soon as Li Zhirui finished disguising himself, he met a group of blind robbers who wanted to rob his spirit ship. Haha, Li Zhirui looked at several cultivators surrounding his spirit ship, and some were already attacking the spirit ship, wanting to come in directly and take charge. And they never expected that the spirit ship they had stopped casually was actually a piece of iron plate, a high and mighty Jinden's Henrun. Senior, spare my life. We are blind to Mount Tai, please spare my life. As soon as Li Zhirui showed his strength, The leader of the robbers immediately identified him, and hurriedly opened his mouth, begging for mercy. Deng Helen, the leader of the robbers, was extremely anxious. The strength of their group was not bad, but to Li Zhirui, the Jinden's Henren, it was nothing, and he could easily deal with all of them. We are willing to serve you as our master, handle trivial matters for you, and let you command us. Deng and Lin had no choice but to take a gamble. Although there were many dangers and the risk of falling at any time, at least they would not die now. If they were lucky, they might even be able to get some benefits back. It has been modified. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 358 Search. Are the words you just offered true or false? A cold voice sounded above their heads. When Deng Helen heard this, he was suddenly overjoyed, because since the other party asked this, then if nothing unexpected happened, there would be a place where they could be used. And this was the chance for this group of people to survive. Maybe they could even get close to this Jinden's Henren and get rid of the life of eating one meal and not the next. Please be clear, Senior, everything we said is true. Even if we are asked to climb mountains of swords and go through seas of fire, we will never refuse. Deng Helen hurriedly opened his mouth to express his loyalty. In fact, Li Zhirui didn't care whether they were loyal or not. The reason why he suddenly changed his mind and spared their lives was that he was thinking about going to Canghai's How to find the moon snake. It was such a large state, and he would find it by himself. When would he go there? So it would be better to have an organization, so as to reduce the pressure. Deng Helen's group, a total of 8 robbery cultivators, temporarily caught his eye. Although their strength was not worth mentioning in Li Zhirui's eyes, they were all at the foundation building stage, so they still had strength. Well, just when they thought Li Zhirui had refused, a light voice came into their ears. Then I'll spare your lives for now. As for whether you can survive in the end, it depends on your performance during this period. The tone was cold, but in their ears it was heavenly music. They responded without hesitation. Thank you, Senior. We will definitely live up to your expectations. The rest of the journey was smooth sailing. There were no robbery cultivators like Deng Helen and his group, and no blind cultivators came up to intercept them. This disappointed Li Zhirui. He thought he could gather enough men just on the road. Canghai's How, a state in the inland sea, has scattered islands and cultivators. Li Zhirui entered a large market, but there were not many cultivators inside, and it was deserted. The arrival of Li Zhirui and his group of 9 people immediately attracted a lot of inquiring eyes. Who are they? They suddenly came here, and I don't know what they are going to do. Who cares? They have a Jinden's Henren, so we'd better not interfere. As everyone was talking in a low voice, Li Zhirui and others entered an inn. After they had their rooms opened, they ordered, "You go out now and find out some news about the moon snake. You can also leave the market and go outside to investigate. If there is definite news, rewards will be awarded according to the situation. As for whether they would take the opportunity to escape, of course not. Because they dare not, you know." Li Zhirui forced them to eat a poison, and they need to swallow the antidote every once in a while, otherwise they will bleed to death. At first, most of them didn't believe it until they experienced it themselves. The severe pain made them live a life worse than death, and then they calmed down. This is also the reason why Li Zhirui let them go out. As for Li Zhirui himself, he now has a lot of men, so there is no need to go out in person even for such a small matter as finding out information. Brother Deng, we have been running around outside for several days and have not found any clues. Should we go back? One person hurriedly urged. The most important thing is that if they don't go back, the poison in their bodies will take effect. Well, you are right. Deng Helen nodded, and flew towards the market where Li Zhirui was. Li Zhirui and his party have been staying in the market for more than half a month, but there is not much news about the moon snake. All they have collected are some rumors, and some people even deliberately took the opportunity to play with them. Of course, the end of the latter group of people is not good, it is very miserable. However, because Deng Helen and others did not hide their actions, the whole market knew that Li Zhirui, the Jinden's Henren, was looking for the moon snake and offered a large reward. If the moon snake can be caught alive, at least 100,000 spirit stones will be rewarded. Such a generous reward made all the cultivators crazy, not only the market where Li Zhirui was, but also the cultivators in the nearby market and the fairy city, after knowing this, also joined the large team to find the moon snake. Unfortunately, there is no good news until now. Li Zhirui thought that the news Li Shiking received was just a rumor, and there was no moon snake in Canghai's Hao. Just when Li Zhirui was looking for it in vain and was about to leave Canghai's Hao, suddenly a Kegan cultivator said that he had found the whereabouts of the moon snake. Where did you see the moon snake? Li Zhirui looked at the boy in front of him, who was only 15 or 16 years old, with a very gentle attitude. Near Xiaokang River, then the boy said in detail, I went to Xiaokang River to salvage spirit fish a few days ago, and suddenly saw a white shadow flash by. At first I didn't care, I just thought it was a demon beast like a white snake, but yesterday evening, when I was about to get up and go home, I saw the moon snake with my own eyes. It was slender, with moon-white scales, and it was emitting bright moonlight. Li Zhirui was delighted when he heard the boy say so in detail, because he described the characteristics of the moon snake, but from what he said, the moon snake might have grown up and was not suitable to be Li Chengshuo's contracted spirit beast. There is a prerequisite for the contracted spirit beast of the Wanling Sutra. It must be a young beast, preferably a newly born spirit beast, because this kind of spirit beast has the weakest consciousness and basically has no power to resist. Thinking of this, Li Zhirui couldn't help but frown. But soon, he put away his thoughts. After all this was just his guess. He still had to go to the scene to see the details. If what you said is true, then the reward will definitely not be less for you. Unexpectedly, the young man shook his head violently and begged, I don't want a reward, I just asked the senior to take me and my sister away from here. Tell me what happened. Li Zhirui was still patient with the heroes. The young man's hanging heart fell back with this sentence, and then began to tell the story of him and his sister. This story is not new. In summary, the young man's parents died, and there was no direct elder in the family, so someone embezzled the property and secretly persecuted them, not wanting them to survive. After all, the two siblings have good aptitude. Maybe they will get a chance someday. If they break through the foundation, those people will be in trouble. Fortunately, they have good aptitude, so their family will take care of them and not let them encounter danger in public. Otherwise, the two siblings would have turned into a pile of yellow earth. Well, okay, since you want to exchange 100,000 spirit stones for taking you siblings away, I can agree to it. It's just a matter of a word, and you can save 100,000 spirit stones. Why not agree? Anyway, it's just a small foundation building family. It's changed. Chapter 359 Zuanling. Thank you, Senior. Zhang Jiming, who was feeling uneasy, was overjoyed upon hearing this, and bowed to Li Zhirui to express his gratitude. Li Zhirui reached out and helped him, saying, lead the way ahead. I'll go to Jiang's house with you and bring your sister out. Since this kid had seen the traces of the moon snake in the Xiaokang River for several days in a row, it wouldn't hurt to wait for a while. Yes, Zhang Jiming lowered his head and led the way. Deng Helen and others outside the door saw Li Zhirui coming out with a boy, and they couldn't help showing a hint of surprise on their faces. Could it be that this kid really found the moon god? For a moment, several envious eyes were cast on Zhang Jiming, making him feel very uncomfortable. Senior, where are you going? I wonder if there's any place where we can be of use. Deng Helen took a step forward, lowered his head and asked respectfully. Although they are now controlled by others and need to take detoxification pills every few days, they have a Jinden's Henren as their backer, so they are much better off now than before. Many cultivators even come to curry favor with them and bribe them, which is considered a small fortune. This bottle of elixir can completely detoxify the poison in your body. Then, Li Zhirui threw out a few jade bottles and said, these bottles are the elixir I refined. It is your reward for this period of time. Although Deng Helen and others did not play a big role, it was precisely because of their high-profile search for the moon snake that the monks knew about this news, which was barely considered a little credit. Deng Helen and others were stunned when they heard this. They are no longer needed? They are a group of people who have offended Jinden's Henren and are doomed to die. Now they are alive. It is a blessing from heaven. They should not be greedy. However, human desires are endless. Their desires have been nurtured a lot during this period of time. Now they naturally want to get more. How can a robbery cultivator have a better future than being a running dog of Jinden's Henren? Please accept us, Senior. We are willing to go through fire and water for you, and serve you at your service. Deng Helen pleaded loudly. Go through fire and water, and we will do it, the other people hurriedly echoed when they heard this. Li Zhirui looked at Deng Helen with a smile, without any sarcasm or ridicule, and asked calmly, but, what can you do for me? Just this one sentence made them speechless. No matter how much you say, no matter how nice it sounds, it is not as good as doing one thing well. But they didn't even do the task of finding the trace of the moon snake. How could Li Zhirui accept such a useless person? Don't Deng Helen and others understand this truth? They understand it very well in their hearts, but they just don't give up. Li Zhirui was too lazy to see their expressions change. After he finished speaking, he asked Jiang Jiming to continue leading the way. Xiaomu Mountain where the Jiang family is located is not far from the market. Li Zhirui and the others arrived in just over half an hour. Senior, this is the Jiang family's land, and my sister is inside, Jiang Jiming said excitedly. Well, let's go in. In Li Zhirui's eyes, the defensive formation of Xiaomu Mountain was like a piece of thin paper, which could be broken with a poke, so it was okay to follow Jiang Jiming in. Are your Jiang family members so rare? Li Zhirui asked with a strange look on his face. They didn't even meet a cultivator along the way. Jiang Jiming seemed to have suddenly thought of something and hurriedly ran in one direction. Li Zhirui raised his eyebrows slightly. He thought that as long as he took the person away, it would be fine. Now it seems that it is not that easy. However, a small foundation-building family can't cause any trouble. Shaking his head, he thought and followed him closely. Jiang Jilin, come out quickly. The Wang family of Xianshao Pavilion is a big Jinden family. This Wang Shiba is not only talented, but also favored by the ancestors of the Wang family. It is a great honor for you to marry him as a concubine. Don't be ungrateful. Yes, if you are favored by Wang Shiba, it is not impossible to be given a foundation-building pill. By then, you will be a foundation-building cultivator. Stinky girl, are you trying to kill us? When Li Zhirui and Jiang Jiming arrived, they saw hundreds of people gathered together, either persuading or forcing Jiang Jilin to marry Wang Shiba. My sister doesn't want to marry that Wangba, Jiang Jiming roared angrily, which immediately attracted everyone's attention. You said you don't want to marry? Who do you think you are? Before he finished speaking, he turned around and saw an extraordinary cultivator standing next to Jiang Jiming. Go and take your sister with you. Let's go. Yes. Senior, with Li Zhirui's support, Jiang Jiming was particularly confident. He stretched out his hand to push everyone away and enter his own yard. Wait, an old man suddenly stood up and asked, Jiang Jiming, you brought outsiders into the clan land for no reason. Do you know your crime? Li Zhirui's eyes flashed with impatience, and he released his own pressure and said, don't waste time. Everyone was shocked and trembling. They looked at Jiang Jiming in disbelief. When did he get involved with a giant and cultivator? Jiang Jiming didn't hesitate at all. While everyone was unable to move, he rushed into the room and ran out with a 15 or 16-year-old girl. This senior, Jiang Jilin, is favored by the Wang family of the Rare Beast Pavilion. You? Before he finished speaking, the whole person flew backwards and fell to the ground, and his life or death was unknown. Let's go. Li Zhirui saw that the people had arrived, and then released the spirit boat, took the two people up to the sky, and disappeared without a trace in an instant. At first, Li Zhirui was still confused. The Wang family's ancestral land was far away in Qingshan province. How could they be interested in a female cultivator from a small family in Qanghe province? But when Jiang Jilin appeared in front of everyone, Li Zhirui immediately understood. It was not because the girl was so pretty, but because she exuded a strong aura of Zuanayan. Obviously, she had a special spiritual body, a Zuanayan body. A good spiritual body for a cauldron. The so-called 18th young master must have accidentally discovered the existence of Jiang Jilin and wanted to take her for himself and make her a cauldron to assist his own cultivation. What should I do, evil creature? Evil creature. How could my Jiang family raise an evil creature who disregards the family? The Jiang family cultivators present could all foresee that when the 18th young master knew that the woman he liked was gone, he would not listen to their explanation at all. He might even get angry and attack the Jiang family. Regardless of what happened to the Jiang family, after Li Zhirui took the two siblings away, they knelt down on the spirit boat and kowtowed, saying, thank you for saving our lives. This is all a transaction, don't take it to heart. Li Zhirui shook his head. Since it was a transaction, there was naturally no question of gratitude or ingratitude. Chapter 360 Search. Jiang Jilin, who had been tense all the time, was relieved when she heard this. She was afraid that this high and mighty Jinden's Henrin would have evil intentions towards her after seeing her specialness. At that time, she might not be able to commit suicide to keep her innocence. Is this the Xiaokang River you mentioned? Li Zhirui looked down and saw a river about 10 miles wide with no visible border, flowing gently to the east. He thought it was just a small river 1 or 2 miles wide. Where did you see the moon snake? Zhang Jiming scratched his head and said embarrassedly, Senior, I can't tell the location in the sky. Li Zhirui lowered the spirit boat after hearing this, and searched for a long time before finding the place Zhang Jiming said, which happened to be the bend of the river. Are you sure it's like this? Yes. I didn't find the wrong place. I caught spirit fish here before. Zhang Jiming nodded repeatedly and promised solemnly. Li Zhirui said nothing more, and flew back into the sky with his spirit boat, and then covered up the auras of the 3 people, especially his. If the moon snake noticed it, it would probably not show up again. However, the 3 waited for several days, but did not see any trace of the moon snake. This made Zhang Jiming very anxious. If Li Zhirui thought he was a liar, then they would be close to death. He secretly glanced at Li Zhirui, and saw that Li Zhirui's face remained the same. He was relieved and said hesitantly, Senior, if the moon snake left this place, what should we do? Li Zhirui frowned. He never thought that Zhang Jiming lied. A little cultivator who practiced Qi dared to lie to Jinden. I'm afraid he was tired of living. And Zhang Jiming was not a person who was looking for death. Could it be true that the moon snake left here as he said? But after Li Zhirui rescued Zhang Jilin, he rushed over. It was less than a day since Zhang Jiming last saw the moon snake. At the same time, just over a dozen miles away from the 3 people, several female cultivators were controlling a lotus platform and floating in the air. Master Zuanhua, is the moon snake that escaped from the sect really hiding here? A female cultivator with tender features asked in a crisp voice. Well, there is a mark left by the sect in the moon snake's body, and the compass for finding objects points to this direction. As she spoke, Zuanhua looked down at the compass in her hand, and saw that the needle was pointing to the northwest. And this direction was exactly where Li Zhirui and the other 2 were hiding. Someone is coming. Li Zhirui immediately looked to the southeast, and after a moment, he saw a female cultivator of the golden color, with several young female cultivators, walking towards this place. Zuanhua also discovered the presence of Li Zhirui and the other 2, and a bad thought surged in her heart, and she asked, I wonder if you came here for the moon snake. Although Li Zhirui concealed his breath, Zuanhua felt great pressure and threat at the first sight of him, so she was absolutely unwilling to take action if she could. Hearing what the female cultivator said, Li Zhirui had all kinds of guesses in his mind. Could it be that the moon snake was raised by them? He said, yes, the moon snake is rare. I want to catch it and take it back as a spiritual beast. I wonder what is your relationship with the moon snake. In fact, when he saw the compass magic weapon in the hand of the female cultivator of the Jinden sect, he had a guess in his mind. The moon snake was raised by my teacher. It broke through the 3rd level some time ago, but unexpectedly, it escaped from Zuanan sect when we were not paying attention. Zuanan sect is a very special sect, because all the cultivators in the sect are female cultivators, and there is no male cultivator. More importantly, Zuanan sect has Yuanying's engine. Li Zhirui's face froze when he heard this. It was just as he thought. In this case, what should he do? Not to mention anything else, even if the moon snake itself has broken through the 3rd level, it is not something that Li Chengshuo can contract. Daoao, Zuanhua saw that Li Zhirui's face was not very good, and said uneasily, there are still a few moon snakes in the sect, but their cultivation is not as good as mine. If you are happy, why don't you follow us back to Zuanan sect later? Thank you for your invitation, but I have something else to do, so I won't go. Who knows whether this trip is a blessing or a curse? It is better not to get close. After all, it is rumored that Zuanan sect is not a good place for male cultivators. It seems that the predecessor who founded this sect was heartbroken by a male cultivator, so he dislikes and hates any male cultivator, and even prohibits male cultivators from entering Zuanan sect. Although the founder of the sect has fallen for many years, many things have been passed down, such as not allowing male cultivators to enter. After that, Li Zhirui was ready to leave. The moon snake had an owner, so he naturally didn't want to stay and waste time. It would be better to go back and see if the family has found out about other Taiyan spirit beasts. But just when he was about to leave, the moon snake took the initiative to show up. A snake body of more than 10 feet long rushed out of the water, spitting out its tongue, and a cold voice sounded, "Have you chased us here, Uncle Bai? Please follow me back, don't make it difficult for me," Xuanho sighed and said softly. "How?" The moon snake sneered, staring at them for a long time with a pair of strange snake eyes, and finally agreed, with a voice full of death, "I will follow you back." As for Li Zhirui and the other two, the moon snake didn't even look at them, and shrank its body and boarded the magic weapon of Xuanho and others. "Dao, the matter here is over, and I should go back to report. Goodbye," Xuanho said to Li Zhirui in a very good manner. After all, if he took action, things would definitely not be so smooth. Li Zhirui just nodded and watched them go away, thinking to himself, "What a pity, I don't know what happened to the moon snake, it actually wanted to die." "Senior, where are you going next? Can you take us out of Kanghei's How?" Zhang Jiming's words woke him up instantly. After listening to him, he thought about it and finally agreed. It was on the way anyway. But before that, he had one more thing to do. Li Zhirui released all his spiritual senses and searched the nearby waters inch by inch, as if looking for something. If he hadn't seen it wrong just now, the breath of the moon snake was disguised and forced to stay up, that is, she was either injured or gave birth to a blood descendant. And from her sudden escape from Xuanyang sect, the latter is more likely. I hope I'm not wrong. This search lasted for several days. At first, Zhang Jiming and his sister didn't understand what Li Zhirui was doing, but they soon understood, and then joined in, slowly searching with their not-so-strong spiritual sense. "Senior, there's something strange here," Zhang Jilin suddenly shouted. Li Zhirui flew over instantly and used his spiritual sense to explore the place she said. It looked the same as the surroundings, but if you look closely, you will find that the surrounding spiritual energy is slowly gathering towards this place. Chapter 361 Success. After exploring the area, Li Zhirui concluded that there was an illusion array here, which was hidden from his consciousness. If Zhang Jilin hadn't been careful, he would have missed it. "Good," Li Zhirui was very happy and said immediately, "If there is something I want here, I will definitely give you a reward." Now that he knew the reason, the next thing was naturally not difficult. Li Zhirui spent a little time thinking and broke the illusion array. Sure enough, he had discovered that the breath of the third-level moon snake was not right before, and he had a guess in his heart. Now looking at the moon-white snake egg placed at the center of the array, Li Zhirui showed a brilliant smile on his face. In this way, Shu'er also has a suitable contracted spirit beast. Carefully putting the snake eggs into the space, he turned around and said to the brother and sister, "This matter is over, I will take you away from Kanghei's How." At the moment when the illusion array was broken, the moon snake, which was thousands of miles away, suddenly felt it and murmured to himself, "Has it been discovered by the cultivators? Child, I'm sorry for you, the pupils that originally had some luster have now become extremely dim, surging with hatred and the intention of death." On a full moon night, the moon snake appeared under the main peak of Xuanyang sect. "You have enslaved me for so many years, die with me." A word containing overwhelming hatred and resentment drifted away with the wind. The next moment, a loud sound of earth-shattering and mountain-shattering suddenly exploded. The originally towering Xuanyang mountain rolled down countless boulders, and the smoke and dust that covered the sky and the sun covered the area for several miles. Countless cultivators either died in the self-explosion of the moon snake or were crushed by the boulders that collapsed from Xuanyang mountain. But the biggest loss was not these cultivators, but the fourth-level spiritual vein at the foot of Xuanyang mountain. No one knows how the moon snake got close to the spiritual vein, but her self-explosion actually blew up a section of the spiritual vein. Fortunately, the spiritual vein was not completely broken, otherwise this fourth-level spiritual vein would be completely destroyed, but even so, this degree of damage is not easy to repair. It requires a lot of resources, and it takes time to heal the scars. It's raining all night. The news of the explosion of the spiritual vein spread quickly, and those forces that were not on good terms with the Xuanyang sect took action one after another, trying to take advantage of the fire, making the Xuanyang sect exhausted, suffering heavy losses, and reducing its territory a lot. Speaking of which, thank you, Senior. Although Li Zhirui had promised this before, they had not been able to settle down in their hearts. Now that they really set off, they were completely relieved. As for what would happen to the Zhang family if they offended Wang Shiba, what would it have to do with the two brothers and sisters? The spirit ship rushed, breaking the white clouds in the sky, leaving only an extended road. Li Zhirui was eager to return home, So he increased the speed of the spirit ship to the fastest speed, and entered the territory of Qingshan province the next day. The cultivation world here is relatively prosperous, and there are Qingshan mountains in the middle, and it is close to the infinite sea in the east. They are all good places for training, and there are rich cultivation resources. It is just close to Qanghe province. What do you think? Li Zhirui stopped near a market and asked the two people for their opinions. Zhang Jiming and Zhang Jilin looked at each other and nodded in response. Thank you, senior. They are not the kind of people who don't know what is good for them. It's good that Li Zhirui is willing to take them away. How can they be picky? Well, Li Zhirui sent the two people down, and gave Zhang Jilin a jade bottle as a reward for her finding the moon snake eggs. After handling this matter, he drove the spirit ship away. Sister, what kind of elixir did the senior give you? He has been thinking about what reward Li Zhirui will give them these 2 days, and now he finally sees it. Zhang Jilin used his spiritual sense to take a look, and was surprised and happy. He moved quickly and immediately put the jade bottle into the storage bag, and said in a voice transmission, Brother, the senior gave me a foundation building pill. What? Zhang Jiming exclaimed, and immediately attracted the attention of many nearby cultivators. When he reacted, he hurriedly pulled his sister away. The senior is too generous to give a foundation building pill as a reward, Zhang Jiming sighed and said with some regret, it's just that we don't even know the senior's last name, and we can't even find anyone to thank in the future. We will see each other again in the future if we are destined to. Zhang Jilin was also very excited, secretly clenched his fist, and said, but before that, we have to work hard to practice, otherwise we can't help the senior at all. Li Zhirui didn't know that the two brothers and sisters were actually thinking about how to repay him in the future, but even if he knew, he wouldn't take it to heart. It's not that he looked down on these two people. After all, the plots in the storybook such as Don't Bully the Poor Young People and 30 Years in the East and 30 Years in the West have also happened in reality. But in Li Zhirui's mind, everything between them was just a transaction. After the payment and goods were settled, nothing else needed to happen. Mom, Dad has been out for a long time. Why hasn't he come back yet? Li Chengshu asked in distress. Some bad thoughts also emerged in her mind. She already regretted letting Li Zhirui go to find the moon snake. You? Zhang Fengwu nodded her forehead helplessly and said, you have to believe in your father. With his strength, ordinary giant and cultivators are no match for him. What's more, he brought Zhao King with him this time, because Da King's Taoist partner was pregnant and needed his care. Li Zhirui only brought Zhao King with him. With the strength of this one person and one pet, he could leave calmly even if facing several giant and cultivators. Then why hasn't Dad come back yet? Don't worry, he will be back soon. Ha 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 ha. With a hearty laugh, a dusty figure appeared in the courtyard. Li Zhirui said with a smile, sure, do you miss Dad? Yes, I miss you very much. Li Chengshuo nodded repeatedly, and said in a crisp voice. Unlike Li Chengsheng who is reluctant to express himself, this little girl always liked to speak her mind. I came back this time and brought you a surprise. Li Zhirui took it out and saw a long and flat moon-white snake egg suddenly appeared in his palm. Dad, is this the snake egg of the moon snake? Yes, you have to be careful, there's only the snake egg, if something goes wrong, he won't be able to get another one. I'll go to Uncle Yan now, he must know how to hatch the moon snake. Li Chengshuo left happily with the snake egg. Li Zhirui looked at the jumping figure, shook his head and laughed. When he could no longer see it, he turned around and asked, where's Shenzhe? Zhang Fengwu couldn't help sighing when talking about his eldest son. He said helplessly, this kid is either practicing in the quiet room all day or running to Uncle Yan to take care of the group of Chaoyong crows. It's rare to see him on weekdays. According to the time, he should be coming out soon. Chapter 362 Retreat. Li Zhirui didn't think there was anything wrong with this. Zhang Fengwu just felt that Li Chengsheng was not close to them, and felt a little sad, so he advised, Shenzhe has been mature and steady since he was young, unlike an ordinary child. Besides, he is working hard to practice, which is better than being a playboy, right, and this child is cold on the outside but warm on the inside. He must be thinking about you in his heart, but he is not good at words and doesn't know how to express it. Zhang Fengwu remained silent, as if he was thinking about Li Chengsheng's performance these days. After a long time, he said, you are right, I wronged Shenzhe. Li Zhirui watched Li Chengsheng's figure disappear behind the door of the quiet room, and felt amused, but he didn't expose the matter, lest the boy be shy. There is nothing wrong with blaming, It's just that the communication is not in place. If there's anything, just talk it out. While the couple was chatting, Li Shengsheng finally came out of the quiet room and greeted them respectfully. My son greets father and mother. If you have anything in the future, don't always keep it in your heart. You can tell me, your mother, and your sister. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. Thank you for your teachings, father. Li Chengsheng nodded heavily, and it was obvious that he really listened to the words. Zhang Fengwu held him and talked for a while, and when he saw that the time was almost up, he let him go. After you come back this time, will you go out for training? If she remembered correctly, the secret realm with the inheritance of the Wanling Sutra was only more than 10 years away from opening, and now was the time for the final impact. As soon as Li Zhirui heard it, he understood what she was talking about and said, no, for the rest of the time, I plan to stay in seclusion in the family and strengthen my own strength as much as possible. Only after entering the secret realm can I have the confidence to win the inheritance. Well, in these years, I have been doing my best to strengthen the Starlight Mountain and River array left by Uncle Ren, and then I can also give you some confidence. It's not that there are no better arrays in the 3-level array encyclopedia that Li Zhirui exchanged before, but Zhang Fengwu is most familiar with it, so he is naturally more confident to strengthen the array. If it is replaced with other arrays, you don't have to know how long it will take to learn and understand, and after mastering it, you can start to improve the array. The time is too long, and Li Zhirui may not be able to wait. Thank you, my lady. Li Zhirui bowed solemnly and said, I don't know what your wish is. I will do my best to satisfy it. Then you must come back safely at that time. A warm current surged in Li Zhirui's heart. I will definitely not let my lady down. After returning to the family, Li Zhirui did not waste time. He told the two elders that day and prepared to enter the quiet room the next day. The next day, he entered the quiet room surrounded by Zhang Fengwu and others and began this long practice. Li Zhirui planned to use the remaining 10 years to improve his cultivation to the perfection of the golden elixir. Although it seemed a little difficult, don't forget that Li Zhirui had a Beizhuden in his hand that could increase a lot of mana. As long as he refined the Beizhuden, he would be able to obtain a lot of mana and achieve the perfection of the golden elixir in the shortest time. And this was the highest level of cultivation that the secret realm could accommodate. Li Zhirui did not take the Beizhuden as soon as he went into seclusion. Instead, he adjusted his state 2 years later and then refined this extremely precious elixir. The elixir melted in his mouth. After a while, Li Zhirui felt as if he had swallowed a mouthful of molten magma, hot and boiling. He resisted the urge to spit it out and immediately operated a technique to speed up the refining of mana. As time passed, the golden elixir in Li Zhirui's body became brighter and rounder under the polishing of mana, and it looked extraordinary. Li Zhirui spent a lot of effort to completely refine Beizhuden, and in this process, a lot of energy was leaked out, but even so, he still raised his cultivation to the point where he was only one step away from the perfection of Jinden. Fortunately, there was no bottleneck in this, as long as there was enough mana. And all this took only 3 years. In just 3 years, Li Zhirui, a cultivator who had just entered the late Jinden period, became a Jinden perfection. If it were to be told, I don't know how many people would drop their jaws, but Li Zhirui has always been low-key, and he is still in seclusion, so no one knows yet. In the quiet room, after pushing his cultivation to the limit, Li Zhirui was not in a hurry to come out, but constantly polished his mana to make it more powerful. Li Zhirui was in seclusion in the quiet room, and Zhang Fengwu was also very hard in the outside world, taking a lot of time to comprehend the 3-level formation encyclopedia, wanting to see if he could get some inspiration from it to enhance the Starlight Mountain and River formation. Hard work pays off. With Zhang Fengwu's efforts, she successfully found several ways to enhance the formation, but after some experiments, she found that only 2 of them were really useful. But even so, she was very happy. After all, it only took a few years to enhance the formation, and there would definitely be greater and better gains in the remaining time. In fact, it was not just Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu who were working hard to enter the secret realm, but also Li Shiqing and Li Shilian. The former began to draw a large number of 3rd-level talismans, while the latter shifted the mind of cultivating spirit beasts to cultivating spiritual medicines. The whole family was working quickly for this matter. However, all this has nothing to do with young cultivators like Li Chengsheng and Li Changshu who have just entered the Tao. Even if some of them have excellent qualifications, they have not grown up yet. There is a huge gap between the 2 sides and they can't help it all. "Brother, haven't parents come out of retreat yet?" Li Changshu asked as usual, while reaching out to touch the moon snake hanging on his body. The moon snake that Li Zhirui brought back that year was successfully hatched after being cared for by Li Shilian and Li Changshu, and then directly became Li Changshu's contracted spirit beast, and now has the cultivation level of the 3rd level of Qi training. Li Changshu himself has successfully broken through the middle stage of Qi training and is now heading towards the 6th level of Qi training. As for Li Changshin, although his qualifications are almost the same as Li Changshu, thanks to his daily hard work, he is now at the 6th level of Qi training, and is ready to directly cross the threshold of the late stage of Qi training when his magic power is polished enough. This bottleneck that is difficult to break through in the eyes of outsiders is like a small puddle in front of him. He can easily step over it with a casual lift of his foot. Squeak! Before he could answer Li Changshu's question, there was a sound of the door opening. The brother and sister looked over and saw Zhang Fengwu walking out with a tired face, but he couldn't hide his joy. "Mom!" the two shouted in surprise. Li Changshu ran up to her and said, "Mom, you've worked hard, go back to your room and rest. Mom hasn't been able to spend enough time with you these past few years. Now that I've dealt with the things on hand, I'll take more time to spend with you." Chapter 363 Heart to Heart. Okay, if you have any questions about cultivation, come find me tomorrow. It is not an easy task to deduce the formation. It consumes a lot of energy. Even if Zhang Fengwu is already a giant and cultivator, he can't support it for too long. Fortunately, Zhang Fengwu is very talented in the formation. It only took 2 or 3 years to successfully integrate the new Starlight Mountain and River formation. The new formation integrates the nature of wood growth and prosperity. Mountains and rivers nourish wood, and wood consolidates mountains and rivers, making the formation defense more powerful. The reason why Zhang Fengwu studied the defense direction is not only because of Li Zhirui's extraordinary combat power, but also because of decking. Although decking is good at defense, it is only in the early stage of the 3rd level. At that time, it may not be able to resist for long in the secret realm full of giant imperfection. In addition, the control requirements of the attack formation are higher, and the enemy needs to be led into the formation, so the defense formation is more suitable. The next morning, Zhang Fengwu pushed open the door. When he came out, he subconsciously looked up and glanced at the quiet room where Li Zhirui was in seclusion. "I don't know when you will come out of retreat, and when you come out of retreat, what realm will your cultivation reach?" In fact, if possible, she wanted to persuade Li Zhirui not to take risks and go to such a dangerous secret realm, but Zhang Fengwu knew in her heart that this was impossible. Because this is not only about Li Zhirui's future, but also the future of the entire family and thousands of cultivators. She only regretted why she didn't work harder before and formed a golden elixir before she was 100 years old. If so, she could accompany Li Zhirui into the secret realm together, and they would have a mutual care. Zhang Fengwu suppressed many distracting thoughts in her heart, and after the two siblings went out, she began to instruct them in their cultivation. Although she did not practice the Wanling Sutra, with her eyesight in the golden elixir realm, it was still possible to give some guidance. "I don't know how old I am in the mountains, and several years have passed in the blink of an eye." During this period, Li Zhirui came out of retreat once. That time he came out of retreat to entrust his family to help collect some spiritual materials, which he used to enhance his life treasure Qianling. Today, it was his second time to come out of retreat. The purpose was to collect spiritual materials, and by the way, sell the various elixirs he made during his retreat to the family. Since Li Zhirui refined Bai's Hudan a few years ago and raised his cultivation to the perfection of Jinden, he has been concentrating on refining magic power and polishing Jinden, trying his best to improve his hard power. In his spare time, he would refine some elixirs to kill boredom, and refining elixirs consumes mana, which also has a certain effect on refining mana. When Li Zhirui came out of retreat, it happened to be the morning when Zhang Fengwu was instructing the two brothers and sisters, and the family of 4 gathered like this. "Zhirui, are you going to end your retreat this time?" The two children behind Zhang Fengwu also looked at Li Zhirui with expectation. They really missed Li Zhirui after not seeing him for a few years. "Well, I won't be in retreat for a long time in the next 1 or 2 years, however, short-term retreats still happen frequently. After all, he needs to integrate spiritual objects into Qianling, and refine elixirs such as Hulingdan and Bjerksudan. By then, it would be only a few years before the secret realm opened, and he would have to leave his family and rush to the central region where the secret realm opened. There was no teleportation array along the way, so he could only travel by himself or take the cloud ship of some powerful forces, and it would take 2 or 3 years to do so. So in order to avoid trouble on the road and miss the opening of the secret realm, the cultivators from other regions would rush there in advance. Good, even though he had grown into a teenager, Li Chengshuo had never changed, still clapping his hands happily as he did when he was a child. And Li Chengsheng had also grown into a handsome, cold and polite young man. Facing the happy expressions of the mother and her 2 children, Li Zhirui felt a little embarrassed. He didn't seem to be a good husband and a good father. But Li Zhirui had to admit that in his heart, the great Dao always occupied a dominant position. Of course, it's not that he didn't care about them, but compared to the great Dao he pursued, it seemed a little insignificant without involving their safety. This is the jade spirit pail I refined before. Li Zhirui flipped his hand and took out dozens of jade bottles, and said earnestly, giving you the elixir can indeed help you improve your cultivation speed, but you must not ignore the basics and foundations, otherwise everything will be like flowers in the mirror and the moon in the water, which will not last long and will not lead to the great way. The reason why Li Zhirui's cultivation speed is so fast is largely related to taking elixir to practice, but every time he refines the elixir, he will spend time to remove the poison of the elixir and refine the magic power, so that the foundation is solid. Otherwise, it is hard to say whether he can form a golden elixir. I know, Dad, don't worry, Li Chengsheng said seriously, please rest assured, Father, I will take good care of Shuer. Li Chengshuo jumped up immediately, shouting with his teeth and claws, I don't want you to monitor me. Zhang Fengwu just stood aside, watching the 2 children fighting with gentle eyes, with a smile on his face, and did not intend to step forward to stop them. This scene made Li Zhirui feel much more relaxed. The urgency between his eyebrows seemed to fade a lot, and even his state of mind changed a little. Zhang Fengwu, who was also a Jindan, noticed the change in Li Zhirui and turned around with some surprise. Li Zhirui just smiled slightly and did not explain. There was a new thing in his Dao heart that he wanted to pursue and protect, that is, this family. Thank you for your hard work over the years, my wife. Li Zhirui stepped forward and whispered with his head down. Zhang Fengwu's cheeks were slightly red, and he pushed him a little embarrassedly. The children are still here, pay attention. Li Zhirui chuckled, turned around, looked at the little guy who had calmed down and seemed to have discovered some secrets, and asked, did you see it just now? No, we didn't see anything. Li Chengshuo shook his head repeatedly, took Li Chengsheng's hand and walked out. When he reached the door, he said loudly, Dad and Mom, you continue. My brother and I won't disturb you. Then he hurriedly opened the gate and ran out quickly. This quirky little girl, Li Zhirui laughed dumbly. It's so embarrassing that you actually made such an intimate move in front of the children. Zhang Fengwu's fair cheeks flushed with shame, which was very beautiful. Li Zhirui hugged her with both hands, resting his chin on her shoulder, and said guiltily, these years, it's my fault that I always threw it on your head. When the secret realm is over, I will accompany you and the 2 children well. I know the huge pressure and responsibility you are carrying. Zhang Fengwu was silent for a moment, and smiled. I have never blamed you or blamed you. Chapter 364, Hurrying on the Road. Spend a night with Zhang Fengwu. The next day, refreshed, Li Zhirui went out early to meet Li Shiking. After all, the secret realm was related to the family inheritance, and it was a major matter. It was impossible not to discuss it with this elder. In fact, up to now, the only family members who knew that Li Zhirui was going to the central region, entering the 10,000 immortal secret realm, and looking for the inheritance of the 10,000 spirits sutra were Li Shiking and Li Shilian, the 2 elders, in addition to Zhang Fengwu, the pillow man. This 10,000 immortal secret realm was the secret realm that Li Zhirui had always been thinking about. Legend has it that there were no other spiritual objects in it, only an ancient and heavy stone tower that was only 99 feet high. The stone tower has 9 floors, corresponding to the 9 realms of the way of cultivation. There are countless tests. It is said that from ancient times to the present, no one has encountered the same test, and every time you pass a level, you can get the spiritual object corresponding to the number of floors, as long as you say the name of the spiritual object. For example, if Li Zhirui wants to get the Yuaning chapter of the 10,000 Spirits Sutra, or even higher level skills, he must at least pass the test of the 4th floor. In addition to the 10,000 immortal secret realm of the immortal path, The demon path also has a corresponding secret realm. The demon race also has a similar secret realm, and even the conditions for entering the secret realm are the same, all of which are to form a golden elixir before the age of 100. It is rumored that these 3 secret realms were passed down by the upper realm, and their purpose is to benefit the creatures who practice each path. Whether it is true or not, Li Zhirui does not know. But since the appearance of the secret realm, no major force dares to occupy the secret realm. I think even if it is not true, there are other reasons that make those major forces afraid to act rashly. Otherwise, how could they open such an important secret realm and let the creatures who meet the conditions in the world enter? You know, many major forces have grown up because they have obtained a high-level inheritance, and with the birth of a new major force, there will inevitably be an old major force that will decline. After all, there are only so many resources in the Zuinitan realm, and it is impossible to create them out of thin air, so they can only rob and seize. Of course, the reason why a big power can be called a big power is that it naturally has its advantages. After all, the conditions for entering the 10,000 Immortal secret realm are harsh. Most of the cultivators who can form a golden elixir before the age of 100 come from them. There are very few slippery fish like Li Zhirui. As for why the various big forces don't join hands and directly block the news of the 10,000 Immortals secret realm, so that they can enter the secret realm without violating the rules and only their cultivators can be guaranteed? That's because after each 100-year-old golden elixir breaks through, a piece of inheritance will appear in their minds, just like the blood inheritance of the demon race. Although there are few slippery fish, it is not non-existent, so this news cannot be blocked at all, so it is better to make it public directly. And why does Li Zhirui pursue strength? Because the inheritance stone tower is in the center of the secret realm, it is impossible for cultivators to be teleported indirectly. They still need to go through a series of tests and fights between cultivators. Speaking of which, although the Li family had already been preparing for Li Zhirui's trip to the secret realm, the clan members had no idea why they were doing so. They just thought that the family was expanding the scale of business and earning more spirit stones. Zhirui, you have been in seclusion for many years, you must have broken through to the late stage of the golden elixir, right? Li Shiking asked with anticipation. He knew that he could not stop Li Zhirui from going to the secret realm of the 10,000 Immortals, but he could not stop his worries. If he could break through to the late stage of the golden elixir and improve his strength, Li Shiking would be more at ease. Second grandfather, I am now a golden elixir, Li Zhirui said a little embarrassedly. After his breakthrough a few years ago, in order to hide himself and not be targeted by the Thunder Mountain, no one else knew about it except Zhang Fengwu. In fact, he wanted to tell Li Shiking and Li Shilian, but later there were too many things to do and he forgot about it when he was busy. After listening to Li Zhirui's explanation, Li Shiking's disappointment was slightly reduced. As for how he cultivated to the perfection of the golden elixir so quickly, he did not ask. I came here to discuss with you the 10,000 Immortal secret realm in a few years. After a pause, Li Zhirui continued, although there are no spiritual objects to fight for in the secret realm, according to the information collected, the fights between cultivators are still frequent, so I want to ask, do you have any third-level talismans in your hand? Although Li Zhirui is quite confident in his own strength, he still has to learn from the weak when facing almost the entire Zuinitan world of immortal geniuses. After all, the gap between their origins is too big. There may be no difference in realm, but he is definitely not as good as those cultivators from big forces in terms of combat power. For example, they can learn magical powers with terrifying lethality, or some kind of remote curse. These things, the Li family can't touch. Don't worry, I have been preparing for this matter a few years ago, and now I have drawn a lot of third-level spiritual talismans. Li Shiking nodded and waved his hand to take out a stack of bright talismans. Thank you, second grandfather. Li Zhirui was moved beyond words, bowed and said solemnly, I will not let you down. I will definitely come back with a 10,000 Spirit Sutra, and what he wanted was not only the skills of the nascent soul chapter, but also the skills of the transformation of the spirit, and even the refining void, combination, and higher realms. There are still several years before the secret realm is opened, but minus the time for the journey, there is not much left. During this time, I will try my best to draw more talismans. Just do your best, don't try too hard, Li Shiking urged. Although I haven't heard that there are any dangers in the inheritance stone tower of the 10,000 Immortals secret realm, seeing is not necessarily true, let alone this kind of rumor that came from nowhere. and there are so many monks. Thank you, second grandfather. Li Zhirui bowed to him and said, don't worry. I will take good care of myself, and you too, take care of your health and don't draw talismans for a long time. After chatting with Li Zhirui, Li Zhirui returned to the cave with dozens of third-level talismans. How is the discussion with second grandfather? Li Zhirui smiled, then took out all the talismans, arranged them one by one, and suspended them in the air. Second grandfather, you are too generous. You actually gave you so many talismans. Zhang Fengwu was surprised. When he came to his senses, he couldn't help but remind him, but you have to be careful. Although it is forbidden to use spiritual objects above the third level in the secret realm, the great forces have been passed down for thousands of years. Who knows what they have accumulated? Don't worry, I know what I am doing. When have I not been cautious and careful? Zhang Fengwu didn't say more about this matter, and said, while you are still in the family, I will try to see if I can further strengthen the Starlight Mountain and River array, then I will trouble you, my wife. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 365, No Disappointment. After Li Zhirui broke through the golden core perfection, he was no longer as anxious as before. After all, he had done his best to improve his strength, and the rest was up to fate. Now he practices every day, polishes the golden core, refines a few furnaces of elixir, accompanies his family, and instructs Li Chengsheng and Li Changshuo in their practice. Here, I have to mention the progress of the practice of the two siblings. Even though Li Zhirui's requirements are very strict and require them to refine their magic power many times, even so, the speed of their practice still makes him amazed and envious. In just a few years, the two have entered the late stage of key training one after another. Li Chengsheng has already broken through the 9th level of key training and is constantly compressing his magic power in order to build his own foundation. That's right. Li Chengsheng is not going to take the foundation building pill to assist him in breaking through, but intends to refine and compress his magic power through his own practice so that it can be transformed from gaseous magic power to liquid magic power. In fact, this was not what Li Zhirui asked for. After all, there was no hidden danger in building a foundation with a foundation building pill. It was just that Li Chengsheng was arrogant. He heard that the cultivators who built their own foundations had a higher probability of awakening the divine power after forming the pill, so he threw himself on this. Li Zhirui did not stop this matter, because it was also a good thing. Moreover, he would never stop his own child from having such a spirit. Even Li Changshuo, a little girl who had always been a little lazy in cultivation, became extra hard-working under the stimulation of Li Changsheng, and seemed to have the intention of building a foundation on her own. However, Li Zhirui said that this little girl just didn't want to be suppressed by Li Changsheng, and it was still unclear whether she could persist. After all, building a foundation on your own is not an easy thing. Many geniuses have been trapped in this matter for decades, and finally had to give up and take the foundation building pill instead, wasting decades of good time in vain. Having said that, although Li Zhirui has prepared everything that can be prepared in advance, there is no risk. For example, Li Zhirui had bad luck and was delayed on the road, so he missed the opening of the secret realm, or after entering the secret realm, he was targeted by a big force, or he entered the inheritance stone tower smoothly. Although the days were dull, time seemed to pass by in a flash, and in the blink of an eye, it was time for Li Zhirui to set off and rush to the secret realm. After these years of hard work, Li Zhirui's strength has reached a higher level, and his life treasure Qianling has also integrated a lot of spiritual objects, making it more powerful than before. He also has more than a dozen bottles of various elixirs, and all of them are the best of the best, high-quality elixirs. In addition, the formation that Zhang Fengwu prepared for him also took her many years of hard work. Perhaps compared with those famous third-level formations, it is still inferior, but for Li Zhirui, it is not much worse. There is also the third-order talisman drawn by Li Shiking. In order to ensure that there is no mistake, he has really ignored his health over the years. His purpose is to draw a few more third-order talismans to enhance Li Zhirui's strength. In this way, it can be said that Li Zhirui is carrying the heavy expectations of the family and the accumulation of nearly 10 years. After all, The spiritual stones spent on various spiritual objects are not a small number, not to mention the number is so huge. On this day, Li Shiking and Li Zhilian came to the door together. When are you going to leave? Li Zhirui immediately understood the meaning of Li Shiking's words, calculated the time in his mind, and said, "It is better to go early than late. After a month, when Decking comes out of retreat, I will set off to the central region." After years of pouring out a lot of resources, Decking finally accumulated enough. A few months before Li Zhirui set out, it successfully broke through the bottleneck and is now consolidating its realm. As his contracted spirit beast, Zhaoqing, who is like a playboy, naturally yearns for it. Although Decking wants to stay and take care of his group of newly hatched children, how can he not follow Li Zhirui on such a big event? Speaking of which, Decking and Mu Linger have bred a total of 18 mixed blood spirit turtles this time, but unfortunately, there are no cases of blood reversion or mutation among them. Fortunately, among the bloodlines of these spirit turtles, the green turtles occupy the majority, and the black turtle bloodline is only a small part. Perhaps after a few or 10 generations of cultivation, the Li family will be able to obtain a 4th grade green turtle. Because this is the first batch of children of the two, they cherish and value it very much, so they did not hand it over to the family, but planned to cultivate it themselves. If there are members of the Li family who want to sign a contract with a little green turtle, they must also pass their test. Zhirui, why don't I accompany you on this trip? We can also protect each other on the road and take care of each other, Li Zhilian suddenly said. Although he could not enter the mysterious realm of 10,000 immortals, he was a very suitable person to accompany Li Zhirui on the journey. After all, Li Zhilian was also a giant and cultivator. How can I trouble Grandpa Yan to work so hard? Li Zhirui decisively refused. He felt that it was more convenient to travel alone, and he set off so early, so he might have the idea of training on the road. And what Li Zhirui said was not wrong. Although they were all cultivators, it was very hard to travel such a long distance, and there was no need to let the old man Li Zhilian suffer. In that case, it's up to you. Li Shiking did not force it, and took out 2 sealed wooden boxes from the stored ring. These are 2 third-level sky thunder beads obtained by the family. I hope you will use them carefully. This short sentence surprised Li Zhirui, because he knew very well how terrifying the lethality of this seemingly small and inconspicuous black bead was. Even the Yuanying's engine did not dare to resist a 3rd-level sky thunder bead. Compared with the power of some 4th-level spiritual objects, it is not much less. However, 4th-level spiritual objects cannot be brought into the secret realm, while the sky thunder pearl with such terrifying lethality has no such restriction and can be brought in. Not only will I come back safely, but I will also bring back the Yuanying chapter of the Wanling Sutra, and even a higher level of Dharma. Li Zhirui promised solemnly in front of the 3 people. Just do your best. Li Shiking shook his head. From beginning to end, he never thought of asking Li Zhirui to do this desperately. After all, the Dharma is a dead thing, and Li Zhirui is the sole figure who carries the banner of the family's rise. Li Zhirui didn't say anything else, but secretly made up his mind to do his best to complete this matter, so as to live up to the expectations and kindness of the family. You prepare well, we will go back first. After that, the 2 elders left. In the cave, only Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu were left. Chapter 366 Departure. The main hall of the Shenli mountain sect Yanli and King Li, the 2 Yuanying's engines who have never cared about worldly affairs, also appeared in the main hall today, above all the elders. I believe you all know that the 10,000 immortal secret realm is about to open. The sect has been planning for this for hundreds of years. We must ensure that it is foolproof, the head of the sect Lei Yan said in a deep voice. Uncle Mi Lei and the 2 brothers Lei Yu and Lei Feng, do you have any other requests? Even though Shenli Mountain has been passed down for thousands of years and has tens of thousands of disciples, there are only 300-year-old golden elixirs in this generation. Of course, it is not to say that Shenli Mountain has only cultivated 3 people, but the road is difficult and the others naturally fell halfway. In order to improve the strength of the 3 people, during this period of time, Shenli Mountain can be said to be able to take whatever they want. As long as the request is not too excessive, they will satisfy them. After all, if they want to get the spiritual objects that the sect wants from the secret realm, they can only rely on these 3 people. I only ask for a 100-mile teleportation talisman. Mi Lei, as an elder of the same generation as Yanli and King Li, was naturally the first to speak. Lei Yu and Lei Feng also spoke up. but fortunately they were both sensible. The things they asked for were spiritual objects that could be used to save their lives or to improve their combat power. It will be delivered to the three of you later. The internal affairs elders on the side saw the two big men nodded, and even if they were unwilling, they had to stand up. This trip, I will lead the team to the central region, and junior brother Qinglei will be in charge of the sect. In addition to junior brother Milei and the other three, you can also select some outstanding disciples from the sect to get in touch with the Xianjiao in the central region. Maybe there will be great gains. As soon as Yunlei's Henjin spoke, the hall suddenly became quiet, and all the elders unconsciously straightened their postures. Lei Tian hurriedly said, I will arrange this matter immediately and count the number of people. You don't need to think too much to know that any disciple who meets the conditions will not refuse. This is Yunlei's Henjin, one of the two major pillars of the sect. If I remember correctly, it seems that there is a vassal family that has also appeared, a century-old golden elixir, an elder suddenly said. Well, but this boy has not awakened his divine power, and he comes from a small faction. Although he knows about the 10,000 immortals secret realm, he is very likely not to participate. After all, he is only in the middle stage of the golden core now, Lei Tian said, looking like he had investigated Li Zhirui. Perhaps the middle stage of the golden core is considered a not-so-small figure in the outside world, but in the 10,000 immortals secret realm where the golden core is perfect everywhere, it is not enough. It is almost the same as committing suicide. So after hearing what Lei Tian said, the others no longer paid attention to Li Zhirui and discussed other things. As for Yunlei and Qinglei, the two Yuanying's Henjins, after announcing that matter, they flashed out of the hall. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was a month later. Du Qingyu came out of retreat a few days ago and was being affectionate with Mulinger. Li Zhirui was also accompanying his family. After all, it would take at least 5 years to go back and forth, and this was just the time spent on the road, not counting the secret realm and other things. So while he was still on the 10,000 Immortals Island, he naturally took the time to spend more time with his family. Dad, are you leaving tomorrow? Outsiders didn't know what Li Zhirui was going to do next, but Zhang Fengwu and his mother and son knew. Well, after all, the journey is long, so it's better to leave early, Li Zhirui responded, looked up at the brother and sister, and said, I know you are arrogant and want to build your own foundation. This will be good for your future path, but I hope you won't be too obsessed with it and waste your life. Even though Li Zhirui was full of confidence in the qualifications of his two children, he didn't have much confidence in this matter, but he couldn't discourage the enthusiasm of the two children. After thinking about it, he still felt that he should make an agreement with the two children first. You are still young, but the lifespan of a cultivator is extremely precious, so I allow you to try to build your own foundation, but there are also requirements. That is, if you fail within 10 years, you must take the foundation building pill. 10 years? I'm sure it won't take that long, but I don't know about others, Li Chengshuo said confidently, and this other person naturally refers to her direct brother Li Chengsheng. In the face of Li Chengsheng's provocation, Li Chengsheng seemed to have seen nothing, and replied in a serious manner, Thank you, father, for your warning. The child will definitely remember it in his heart. Humph. Faced with a neglect, Li Chengshuo was very angry, but thinking that Li Zhirui was leaving tomorrow, he just snorted coldly and did not argue with Li Chengsheng. Accompanying the three people through the last day, Li Zhirui quietly left the family early the next morning. Except for Zhang Fengwu, no one else knew that he would leave so suddenly. When Li Shiqing and Li Shilian came to the door, they knew that he had left. Forget it, Zhirui never likes to leave. Since he has already set off, let's go back. Li Shiqing led his people away helplessly. Mom, why didn't Dad tell us when he left? I wanted to see him off. Li Chengshuo pouted slightly, obviously very dissatisfied with this arrangement. The reason? Second grandfather has already said it. You don't have to worry about these trivial matters, practice hard, and don't let your talent down. At the same time, Li Zhirui, who left Wangxin Island, rushed all the way to the west. Li Zhirui, who had not been out for many years, was very happy to see the scenery on the earth, as if he was completely relaxed. When passing by Shanli Mountain in the distance, Li Zhirui glanced at the tall and majestic mountain and thought to himself, I don't know how many 100-year-old golden pills there are in Shanli Mountain. But just as he was about to leave, he suddenly saw from the corner of his eye that an extremely huge spirit ship flew out from Wanli Mountain. It should be said that it was a cloud ship commonly used by cross-border chambers of commerce. It seems that Shenli Mountain has the same idea as him. The difference is that Li Zhirui is training alone, while the other party brought a large number of elite disciples. I don't know if Shenli Mountain will invite the Zhenjin this time. However, all this has nothing to do with Li Zhirui, so he just thought about it for a while, and then ignored it and continued to drive the spirit ship on his way. At the same time, an uninvited guest came to Banyan Island. Zhirui. Li Shiking looked at Li Zhirui in front of him and couldn't recognize her. Li Zhirui, who originally had a gentle temperament, returned to the family after more than 10 years. Her temperament has changed greatly, just like Li Zhixun, who kept killing. If nothing unexpected happens, she is probably at the border between the outer sea and the inner sea in recent years, killing water monsters all day long. From this point, it can be seen that Li Zhirui is still brooding over the death of Li Shiting and holds a grudge against the water monster. Chapter 367 Trouble. Li Shiking shook his mind, then showed a happy expression and said, "You are finally back." Although Li Zhirui has her life card left in the family, the life card has its disadvantages, that is, it can only know whether she is still alive, but cannot know her safety. And many injuries, for cultivators, may be more serious than death, such as damage to the foundation of Taoism and broken Danshan. Now, after many years, Li Shiking is naturally overjoyed to finally see Li Zhirui coming back safely, especially at this moment when Li Zhirui has left Banyan Island. "Have you broken through the middle stage of the golden elixir?" Li Shilian on the side was also very happy. The younger generation has made further progress, which means the strength of the family. "Well, I have been training outside for many years and occasionally gained something." Li Zhirui seemed to have not smiled for a long time. Now seeing the two elders, he could only pull up the corners of his mouth reluctantly, which was very stiff. Seeing this, Li Shiking couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He knew that Li Zhirui and Li Shiting had a deep relationship, but he never expected that Li Shiting's death would become Li Zhirui's obsession. If she couldn't break through her obsession, she would probably lie like this for the rest of her life. Then, his hope that Li Zhirui could break through the nascent soul stage would be impossible. At this moment, Li Shiking suddenly remembered what Li Zhirui had said to him a long time ago, and the other protagonist in the words, Li Zhixun, who had not returned for more than 10 years. "Zhirui, you are not going to leave in a short time after you come back this time, right?" Li Shilian asked. Li Zhirui shook her head, with a complex look of apology and hatred on her face, but she still said the purpose of her sudden return to the family: "I am going to go to the central region, enter the 10,000 immortal secret realm, obtain resources from the stone tower, and improve my strength as soon as possible. I want to get some spiritual objects from the family." She said the last sentence very awkwardly. Why did Li Zhirui feel embarrassed? First, because the family had cultivated her for so many years, but at the critical moment, she only thought about herself, and second, the purpose of her going home was really shameless. This, Li Shiking and Li Shilian looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Seeing this, Li Zhirui said quickly, "Since the family is in trouble, let's forget it." She was not dissatisfied, but relieved. "Things are not as you think, but you also know that Zhirui is also a 100-year-old golden elixir. He planned to enter the secret realm to explore a long time ago, so the family prepared early and prepared a lot of spiritual objects for him." After a pause, Li Shiking continued, "But some time ago, Zhirui had already set out alone to the central region. Ninth brother also went." Li Zhirui murmured, "With ninth brother's ability, how could he not go?" And she didn't need to think about it. She knew that Li Zhirui's purpose of going to the secret realm was completely different from hers. She went for herself. Regardless of whether she was under the banner of revenge for Li Shiting, she could not deny that she did it for herself. Li Zhirui was different. He went for the future of the family. Of course, this future also included him, but the whole family benefited more. It will take some time before the secret realm opens. During this time, you should stay in the family. There are still some spiritual materials left. Let's see how many spiritual objects I can refine for you." Li Zhirui wanted to refuse, but she knew in her heart that if she refused, she might not even have the chance to enter the stone tower, so in the end she could only remain silent. As a result, the Li family cultivators, who had just rested for a few days, became busy again. Talking about two ends. After Li Zhirui left the family, he flew non-stop to the west. He planned to cross Wanli's Hao, Shifeng's Hao and other places as soon as possible and enter the central region. Then, while the secret realm has not yet opened, He would collect information while training in the most prosperous central region in the cultivation world. Of course, the 10,000 Immortals secret realm is the most important. Li Zhirui will act as carefully as possible to avoid delaying important matters in his hands. However, he did not expect that his spiritual ship would not stop for a moment, and there would be trouble. Dao, please stay. Hearing this from afar, Li Zhirui not only did not stop, but further urged the spirit boat to the limit, like an arrow shot from a bow, and disappeared without a trace in a whistling sound. But no matter what Li Zhirui did, the monks behind him could keep up closely, as if they were relying on him. This made Li Zhirui very angry, but facing such trouble, he could not intervene at all, so he could only turn a deaf ear and continue on his way. One after another, after chasing for several days, Li Zhirui finally became impatient, stopped the spirit boat, and shouted, "I wonder what your intention is. I am Wang Daozi, and I am honored to meet you." Dao, dressed in a yin-yang wide-sleeved robe and a lotus crown on his hair, he was dressed like a Taoist priest and performed a Taoist salute. Wang Daozi looked at Li Zhirui with a piercing gaze, full of sincerity, and said, "I see that we hit it off right away, and I want to make friends with you." When he saw Li Zhirui up close, he was greatly surprised. He had never seen someone like Li Zhirui, who was so prosperous and unpredictable, so he chased after him and wanted to get in touch with him to see if he could figure out the matter. "Your Excellency was being hunted down before, and you want to get involved with me?" There's no need to say such ridiculous words. Li Zhirui was very cold, and he didn't even hide his disgust for this person. Hearing this, Wang Daozi scratched his head, with a bit of embarrassment on his face, and explained, "I just read a fortune for that family, but they chased me all the way. At the critical moment, I happened to meet you, so I could only resort to this last resort. I hope you can forgive me." The fortune he read for that family was also related to the next 10,000 Immortals secret realm. The fortune was extremely bad, and perhaps all the cultivators would be lost in the secret realm. But what is the difference between such an unpleasant word and a curse? Naturally, people don't want him to live. Li Zhirui couldn't hide his surprise, because there were so few people inheriting this lineage, and he didn't expect to meet one. Although it was rare, he had no intention of contacting Wang Daozi. "In that case, please stay away from me. I won't get into this trouble." Li Zhirui's eyes flashed with murderous intent. And he said, "If you follow me again, don't blame me for being ruthless. The trip to the 10,000 Immortals secret realm is the only hope for the Li family and Li Zhirui to obtain the various methods behind the 10,000 Spirits Sutra. He will never allow anyone to destroy it." Seeing that Li Zhirui didn't like him so much, Wang Daozi felt a little regretful in his heart, and secretly said, "How great it would be if I could meet Li Zhirui earlier." Chapter 368 Central Region. Or, Wang Daozi shouldn't have used such a shameless method to force Li Zhirui to stop. He even planned to divert the trouble to others at the beginning. In this situation, how could you make Li Zhirui happy? He could talk to Wang Daozi in a good tone, which was already very remarkable. If it weren't for these two things, perhaps Li Zhirui would have made friends with Wang Daozi because of his identity as a fortune teller. After all, the fate of the gods and demons was unpredictable, and ordinary people had no idea what it meant, but they had to be cautious. The two were strangers, and they had said everything they should say. Li Zhirui drove the spirit ship away without hesitation, and Wang Daozi didn't chase him this time, but just stood there in a daze, not knowing what he was thinking. The next journey was not smooth sailing, mainly because there were many demonic forces in the East region. After Li Zhirui first came into contact with the world of immortal cultivation, he was thinking that since the immortal way was so powerful, why not completely suppress the demon way, and it would be best to cut off its inheritance. In this way, wouldn't the entire Xuanun world be the territory of the immortal way? As for the need for external stimulation to ensure the vitality of the immortal path, in Li Zhirui's opinion, it's all bullshit. Is there less struggle within the immortal path? There are wars that make cultivators grow. It was only after more contact that Li Zhirui realized that the immortal path did not want to destroy the demon path, but there was no way. Because of the existence of the 10,000 demon secret realm. The 10,000 immortal secret realm only allows cultivators to enter, but the 10,000 demon secret realm does not have this restriction. As long as you are a 100-year-old golden elixir, and you are not a demon cultivator, you will definitely get a technique that can directly reach the nascent soul. In this way, how can the demon gate be destroyed? Unless someone can destroy the 10,000 demon secret realm. But the problem is that the 3 secret realms of immortals, demons, and monsters have been born for countless years, and no one has found their location so far. How can they be destroyed? After Li Zhirui solved another demon cultivator, he calculated in his heart that he was about half the distance from the central region now. That's right, even if he tried his best to rush for several months, he only came from the east of the east region to the west of the middle, which shows how vast the east region is. However, along the way, Li Zhirui also gained a lot and got a lot of spiritual objects. He did not take the initiative to rob others, but if others took the initiative to offer them to him, he would naturally not refuse. After such a long journey, Li Zhirui was a little tired, so he was going to rest for a day or two in a certain immortal market. But he didn't expect to meet Wang Gaozi here. And he was like a Taoist priest at this time, checking the luck of a foundation-building cultivator. But the two just looked at each other, as if they had never met before, and passed by. 2 days later, Li Zhirui set off again, embarking on the road to the central region with determination and faith. I don't know if I can meet Xiaxun in the central region. Calculating the time, the two of them haven't seen each other for 10 to 20 years. If they can meet, it would be the best. It doesn't matter if they can't meet. Li Zhixun will return to the family after training outside. When Li Zhirui set off, someone from Banyan Island also set off, that is Li Zhirui. After the family's hard work over the past few months, she also got a small amount of spiritual objects, but it was far less than Li Zhirui's. After all, many things cannot be obtained by force. Clang. Qianling's thick roots were like steel, hitting the two monks who dared to block Li Zhirui's way fiercely. The two seemed to hear a sound of breaking. I didn't expect that we would run into a tough guy today. The person who spoke was very regretful. It's a pity that if they had known this would happen, why did they do it in the first place? There is no regret medicine in the world. Brother, what should we do now? Fighting. They have fought with Li Zhirui several times, and they clearly know that they are not opponents at all. They just rely on the power of the two to barely withstand Li Zhirui's attack. Moreover, as time goes by, the mana in their bodies is getting less and less, and their resistance is naturally getting worse and worse. If this continues, it won't be long before they die at the hands of Li Zhirui. Escape. It's not that they haven't thought about it. After knowing Li Zhirui's strength, their first reaction was to escape. Unfortunately, Li Zhirui didn't give them a chance to escape. He directly used his magical powers and Qianling to seal the surroundings, as if he had made up his mind to save the lives of the two. Now, the only way to survive is to fight for your life. Okay, the junior brother shouted excitedly. Let that kid learn the methods of my two brothers. Li Zhirui watched all this with cold eyes. He didn't take these two people seriously at all. It was just a little more difficult to deal with them, not impossible to deal with. So at this time, seeing the two people fighting desperately, Li Zhirui naturally would not show mercy. Daking and Zhaoqing came out together, and he himself used the water and wood divine light to summon 2 huge dragons, and the attack was like a storm in front of the two people. It's over, Li Zhirui said like a verdict. And the fact is indeed so. Although the two are both Jinden, they are only in the middle stage of Jinden. In front of Li Zhirui, who is in the great perfection, they can only barely support 1 or 2 together, and don't expect more. After collecting the two people's spiritual objects and dealing with their bodies, Li Zhirui flew away. After all, the place where they fought was deserted, but it was noisy and would probably attract a large number of cultivators. In the following time, Li Zhirui was trying his best to hurry on. There were cultivators blocking the way, but he could handle them all. It was just that he was accidentally attacked by a demon cultivator and suffered minor injuries. He had to recuperate in the market for a few days. Although it was just a few words, only a few people could understand the bitterness. In the end, he arrived at the central region on the day when the first heavy snow fell. Is this the center of the Zuinian realm? Li Zhirui looked at the endless tall mountains in front of him and said, it's just the outermost part, and the spiritual energy is so rich. It's really enviable. From this aspect alone, the central region is indeed suitable to be the center of Zuinian. But the main reason is that the strength of this place is strong enough. Whether it is the combat power of the cultivators or other aspects, the talents in the central region are top-notch. Li Zhirui calmed down and slowly walked into the seemingly vast world of the central region. However, all he saw were cultivators, numerous cultivators, including many Jinden cultivators. It would be a bit exaggerated to say that there were as many as dogs, but there were definitely quite a few. He saw more than a dozen of them. These giant cultivators alone were not much worse than the Shenlai mountain, a large sect that had been passed down for thousands of years. And this place was just the most remote corner of the central region. Chapter 369 White Lotus. There are still 1 or 2 years before the opening of the 10,000 Immortal Secret Realm, which is enough time for me to get to know the central region well, Li Zhirui murmured softly. His purpose of going to the central region this time was not only to enter the secret realm, but also to purchase various spiritual objects for the family. You know, Li Zhirui is now carrying a huge amount of spiritual stones. In addition to the expenses for this year and the first half of next year, the family has taken out all the spiritual stones accumulated in the past, which is nearly 10 million. And such a huge amount of spiritual stones will be used to buy spiritual objects. After all, the central region can be called the center of the cultivation world. Spiritual objects from all over the world will gather here. Many spiritual objects that cannot be bought in the eastern region can be easily obtained here. The Li family has been a golden elixir family for only 100 years. Perhaps for ordinary people, this is longer than their lifetime, but for cultivators, this is nothing at all, so the Li family's foundation is still lacking. And this trip to the central region is a good opportunity to fill the foundation, so the family will take the risk and let Li Zhirui bring such a large amount of spiritual stones. If it succeeds, the family will prosper. If it fails, the family will lose its savings and vitality. Fortunately, Li Zhirui had a space on him, so he put the spirit stones directly into the space, and outsiders could not see that he had so many spirit stones in his hand. Senior, are you from the outside world? Just as Li Zhirui was walking aimlessly on the street, a slightly childish voice sounded beside him. A young cultivator in the late stage of key training saw Li Zhirui stop and hurriedly said, "My name is Li Chuan, and I am a local of the central region. I dare not know the entire central region, but I know the situation within 100 miles." When introducing himself as a local, the pride in his tone could not be concealed at all. But it was also true that he grew up in the center of the world of immortal cultivation, so he was naturally proud in his heart. Li Zhirui suspected that if he, an outsider, was not a giant and cultivator, Li Chuan would not even look at him. But no matter what, it is better to have a local leading the way than for him to look for it randomly. Then you can introduce the nearby Fairy City Market and various special spiritual objects within 100 miles. He didn't even ask how many spiritual stones were needed. Okay, Li Chuan took a step forward and said, "Within 100 miles, there is a large fairy city and a small market. It looks like a lot, but in fact, including the market we are in, they all belong to the Su family, the Yuanying family." Even though Li Zhirui knew that the central region was prosperous, he was a little surprised to hear this. In their territory, the Yuanying forces can occupy tens of thousands of miles, while in the central region, they can only occupy the most remote 100 miles. Why not leave? Li Zhirui almost blurted out this, but he thought about it for a while and understood it thoroughly. There is spiritual energy in every corner of the central region, and it is no different from the ordinary first-level spiritual veins. The rich spiritual energy that other places desires nothing in the central region. This condition alone makes the cultivators reluctant to give up, not to mention the abundance of spiritual objects. As long as they are not extinct, and as long as you can pay for the spiritual stones, you can get anything. Li Chuan shook his head and said, "Senior, don't be surprised. The central region has long been controlled from top to bottom by several forces of the God transformation. It is already very remarkable that the Su family can have 100 miles of land, and the most precious spiritual object in the hands of the Su family is the White Lotus of Calming Heart. Although it is only the 3rd grade, it can weaken the obsession of the inner demon and calm the mind, but it is precisely because it is only the 3rd grade that those big forces disdain to snatch it, otherwise it is not certain whether the Su family will exist." Then Li Chuan talked about the situation of other nearby forces. Their strength is a little worse than that of the Su family. It's nothing more than that the Su family has an ancestor who is perfect in the nascent soul and is rumored to be able to break through the God transformation, while other families do not have it. Well, not bad. Through Li Chuan's mouth, Li Zhirui had a deeper understanding of the central region, so he was quite satisfied, and he made a few bottles of second-level elixirs at once. "Next, you don't have to follow me." Li Chuan's spiritual sense probed and he was overjoyed. He saluted to Li Zhirui's back and said, "Thank you, Senior, Although he was only a foundation-building cultivator, he lived in the central region and had a broad vision. Naturally, he could recognize the quality of the several bottles of elixir in his hand. It was a bit exaggerated to say that they were top-grade elixir without any elixir poison, but they were definitely top-grade products. Li Zhirui went to the largest shop in the market alone. He planned to buy a few white lotuses of tranquility and then check the prices of other spiritual objects. After all, he was shopping around and didn't rush to buy. I wonder what spiritual object you want, Senior? Apart from other things, my Su family shop is definitely the one with the most complete spiritual objects in the market, a foundation-building waiter greeted him enthusiastically. In fact, from this point, it can be seen that the central region's cultivation world is so strong that foundation-building cultivators are regarded as the lowest-level errand boys. You know, in the eastern region, generally speaking, a foundation-building cultivator is the shopkeeper of a shop, and only large-scale shops will use golden elixirs. But Li Zhirui had been in the East region for so many years, and he had only seen the golden pill shopkeeper at the headquarters of the two major chambers of commerce, Nanya Chamber of Commerce and Zhuanfa Pavilion. All these thoughts were only a moment, and Li Zhirui quickly came back to his senses and said, "Bring me the list of spiritual objects, Senior, please follow me." When the clerk heard this, he thought it would be a big deal, and hurriedly took Li Zhirui into the private room, and then immediately handed him a jade slip. Just a sweep with his spiritual sense, Li Zhirui was stunned, because there were too many types of spiritual objects on the list. More than what he saw in Nanya Chamber of Commerce. But you have to know that Nanya Chamber of Commerce is much stronger than the Su family in terms of specifications and strength. Of course, maybe it's because the East region is not the territory that Nanya Chamber of Commerce has been operating for a long time, so it can't take out too many spiritual objects for the time being. But even so, it has already shocked Li Zhirui. And he claims to be knowledgeable, but there are many spiritual objects in the list that he doesn't know. Perhaps, I should buy a jade slip like the Encyclopedia of Spiritual Objects to learn more about the spiritual objects in the central region. Li Zhirui decided to do this after purchasing the White Lotus of Tranquility. Although he was shocked in his heart, he did not show any expression on his face, and said lightly, "Give me 3 white lotuses, okay, Senior, please wait a moment." The guy was very happy, because the White Lotus is a special spiritual object of the Su family, and it can restrain the inner demon, so the price is not low. If he sells 3 at once, he can get hundreds of spiritual stones in commission alone. Li Zhirui wanted to buy more, but the price was not cheap. He didn't know how many spiritual objects he had to buy, but he was sure that it was definitely not a small amount, so even if he had nearly 10 million spiritual stones in his hand, he didn't dare to squander it. Chapter 370 Reunion. After a while, Li Zhirui got the 3 sealed jade boxes, and after checking them, he put them into the stored ring. Things have been done, so he naturally won't stay here too long, and he got up and left immediately. Li Zhirui just walked out of the shop and ran into a group of cultivators. The leader was an old man with white hair and silver beard, but his aura was surging like thunder. He was a Yuanying's Henjin. And this person, Li Zhirui also knew him, it was the Shenlai Mountain Yanlai's Henjin. Behind him stood 3 giant cultivators, a square-faced middle-aged male cultivator, whose cultivation was the same as Li Zhirui, both of whom were giant in perfection, and the remaining 1 man and 1 woman were only in the late giant stage, but their aura fluctuated, and there was a possibility of breakthrough. If nothing unexpected happened, these 3 people should all be 100-year-old giant, who were about to enter the secret realm and participate in the trial. After all, those behind them were either foundation-building disciples or had just broken through the giant, and it was obviously impossible for them to enter the secret realm. They should be the new generation of excellent disciples of Shenlai Mountain, who came out to experience and gain knowledge. At the beginning, Li Zhirui also thought about whether to bring some tribesmen with him. This would definitely be good for their future development. But after thinking about it, he finally chose to give up. There was only one reason, that is, Li Zhirui had no confidence in protecting so many tribesmen. In case of any danger, he would risk his life to save everyone, but it is very likely that he would be injured. What about the secret realm? In Li Zhirui's mind, the subsequent exercises of the Wanling Sutra are the most important things during this period. He didn't care about such insignificant things as supporting the younger generation. But Li Zhirui didn't expect it to be so coincidental. There are many routes from the East region to the Central region. They actually chose the same route, and then happened to meet on the road. The other party was led by Yuan Ying's engine, so Li Zhirui could only step aside and wait for them to pass first. However, after he lowered his eyes and lowered his head, he did not notice that Yan Li's engine's eyes stayed on him for a while longer. "Brother, is there anything wrong with that person?" Li Zhirui, who was standing aside, saw the scene and asked curiously. "That man is also a giant in perfection, and it seems that he should also be from the East region. Of course, it doesn't mean that they can recognize people from the East region. After all, the East region is very large." Li Zhirui, who can barely be considered a fellow villager, has changed his appearance. Without careful exploration by divine sense, it is impossible to find it at all, so no one recognized Li Zhirui. Find an opportunity to contact him and see if you can travel together in the secret realm. It will be good for both of you, but it is obvious that Milei and others did not take this matter to heart. It can be said that they are confident in their own strength, or that they do not trust outsiders. Since they are unwilling, Yun Lei's Henjin will naturally not say anything more. It's just a pity in his heart. After all, there is a certain gap between giant imperfection and giant imperfection. If Li Zhirui is with him, both sides will definitely be able to reach the stone tower door faster. I didn't expect to meet them. It seems that I have to leave this place as soon as possible, so as not to be seen by the Su family again. If my identity is exposed, it will be bad, Li Zhirui thought to himself. First of all, the Li family was originally a vassal of Shanli Mountain, and Li Zhirui, as a cultivator of the Li family, how could he not go when summoned by the sect? Second, his current cultivation level was exposed. Would Shanli Mountain attack the Li family? Li Zhirui didn't know. After making up his mind, Li Zhirui left the Su family that day and went to the largest fairy city in the nearby bookstore, preparing to learn more about the central region before the secret realm was opened. He didn't want to encounter spiritual objects again, but didn't recognize them. After leaving the family, Li Zhirui, who had traveled day and night and waded through mountains and rivers, was now blocked. A third-level monster actually wanted to marry her as his wife. "Get out!" Li Zhirui looked at the short, fat, dark-skinned, and ugly monster in front of her with cold eyes. She didn't know what his original form was, and such a whimsical person appeared. "Good boy, follow me up the mountain quickly, I will give you everything I have," the monster begged bitterly like a lover. But what responded to him was Li Zhirui's ruthless, mocking eyes, and the huge waves that piled up one after another. Quack! The original man suddenly transformed into an extremely huge toad. He opened his mouth and swallowed all the huge waves. He looked very relaxed. Fourth grade heaven swallowing toad, Li Zhirui frowned. This kind of inherited monster beast is much more difficult to deal with than other monster beasts. After the opponent showed his strength, Li Zhirui made up his mind not to entangle with the opponent anymore, but to escape directly to the north. "Madam, don't leave," the toad monster chased after him and kept shouting. Those who didn't know the inside story thought it was a love game between a couple. The more Li Zhirui listened, the uglier her face looked. She originally had a bad impression and attitude towards monsters. Now she encountered such a thing. If she was not weak, she would have wanted to cut it into pieces. In this way, after chasing for several days, the toad monster finally gave up. First, he was not good at speed, so he could barely catch up with Li Zhirui and not be left behind, but that was all. Second, he had a family. Although he liked Li Zhirui very much, he was not the kind of person who loved beauty more than the country. Chasing for thousands of miles was already the limit. There was another reason. Li Zhirui also discovered his disadvantages later, and occasionally killed him back, making him very embarrassed. Seeing that the toad monster was no longer chasing her, Li Zhirui exhaled heavily. She was really afraid that she would be caught and taken back to be a mountain village lady. "When I go back, I must ask Brother Jiu to kill you." Although she was not injured, she was disgusted enough, and she had to vent the depression in her heart. However, thanks to the pursuit of the toad monster, Li Zhirui has already traveled halfway through the journey, and it will take another half a year to reach the central region. Time flies, and it is fleeting. Li Zhirui looked at the prosperous market not far away and breathed a sigh of relief. I don't know where Brother 9 is now. It might be that the appearance of the toad monster sucked away all her bad luck. The rest of the journey was very smooth. Although there were twists and turns, it was not a big problem. With Li Zhirui's strength, she could handle it. Moreover, along the way, Li Zhirui's Taoism heart also went through a baptism. She was no longer obsessed with Li Zhirui's death. Although it was just a sign of loosening, it was finally developing in a good direction. It's worthy of being the central region. The spiritual energy is so rich. This was the first sentence Li Zhirui said when she stepped into the central region. She was very shocked. Chapter 371 Ambush. However, the place where Li Zhirui arrived was not Zhujiao County where Li Zhirui had been before. Of course, even if it was Zhujiao County, the two would not meet again. After all, Li Zhirui left here early to avoid a group of people from Shanli Mountain. After Li Zhirui came to the central region, he did not prepare to practice outside like Li Zhirui, but found a market, intending to practice in seclusion for a period of time before the secret realm was opened. Although doing so will not improve one's own strength much, it is good to improve a little bit. Moreover, the second day after Li Zhirui came to the central region, he encountered a major event, that is, several hundred-year-old golden elixirs were ambushed outside the market. Their strength is naturally not to be underestimated, but they have a plan without intention. Even if they did not fall, they were seriously injured and desperately escaped. It is impossible to recover without a few years. But there are less than 2 years left before the secret realm is opened. So when this happened, Li Zhirui completely gave up the idea of seeing the central region, and stayed in the market honestly, waiting for the secret realm to open. As for how to rush to the secret realm at that time, the boat will naturally straighten itself when it reaches the bridgehead, and we will talk about it when the time comes. At the same time, Li Zhirui was leaving the territory of another Yuanying force. In fact, he did not go too far during this period. The main reason was that he planned to have a good experience and try to see if he could break through the bottleneck of the Yuanying. At that time, he would suppress it a little, and wait for the 10,000 immortal secret realm to end. Whether it is staying in the central region to retreat and overcome the tribulation, or returning to the 10,000 immortals island, it is all possible. After all, the bottleneck is the bottleneck. Breaking through the bottleneck does not mean that you can break through immediately. It is not a secret method of passing on skills such as enlightenment. As soon as Li Zhirui walked out of the immortal city, his eyelids began to twitch, as if something bad was going to happen to him. He turned around and returned to the immortal city without hesitation. Brother, that person seems to have discovered us and turned around to go back to the immortal city. Not far from where Li Zhirui had just stood, several giant cultivators were hiding under a formation. One of them almost jumped up when he saw him turn around. Among them were 3 giant early-stage cultivators, 5 giant middle-stage cultivators, and 2 giant late-stage cultivators, a total of 10 giant cultivators. Even if Li Zhirui was a giant perfect cultivator, he would be injured and flee if he did not use Decking and Zhaoking in this lineup. As for whether he would be seriously injured, it depends on how powerful the opponent's killer mace is. This is impossible. The cultivator holding the formation plate immediately denied it and said, although this formation is only the 3rd level, even if you don't use your divine sense to carefully explore it, you can't find it, not to mention that the person is only a giant. Even if Li Zhirui was a giant perfect cultivator, it seemed that he was only one step away from the nascent soul, but in the step, there was a huge gap. The gap between the two is not to say that the gap is as big as the sky. But it is definitely not comparable. Alright, the leader shouted in a low voice, and the 2 people who were still arguing suddenly quieted down, but their eyes were still confronting each other, and neither of them would give in. This matter is indeed not the fault of the formation, it is very likely a warning of inspiration like OM. As soon as these words came out, everyone present was shocked. They were not ignorant cultivators, and they naturally knew what this so-called inspiration was. It was precisely because they knew that they were so surprised. It was indeed incredible that a giant cultivator had such a powerful inspiration. Then in this case, we can kill him? Then we can complete the task we received, someone said disappointedly. That's right. These cultivators are not spies of demon cultivators, let alone evil cultivators, but orthodox immortal cultivators. And they are from those well-known forces. And the purpose is also very simple, that is to kill as many cultivators as possible who want to enter the secret realm, and at the very least, they must seriously injure them and not give them the opportunity to enter the secret realm. In this way, the possibility of the rise of small forces can be cut off, and the small forces will not be given the opportunity to impact their status. Of course, this is not so easy to do. After all, the world is so big that there are many talented people. Unless they are shameless and let Yuan Yingzhanjin personally take action, it is impossible to completely cut off the rise of small forces. What can we do? People are now well prepared. I am afraid they will not leave the fairy city easily. We don't have to waste time here. Let's go back to the sect and report this matter first. After all, from this incident, it can be seen that Li Zhirui has some ability. As for whether the sect intends to kill him or to make friends with him, it has nothing to do with him. So, they took action to remove the formation, and then drove the spirit ship to leave this place quickly. But what they didn't know was that there was a pair of eyes that saw this scene in front of the gate of the fairy city. When Li Zhirui received a spiritual warning, he originally wanted to enter the fairy city immediately to avoid this disaster, but he soon changed his mind, found a blind spot, used the wood hiding technique to blend into a few weeds outside the city gate, and secretly watched the situation nearby. As a result, he saw the group of cultivators before he waited for long. He sneered in his heart, 10 giant cultivators? They really think highly of me, Li. Seeing that they really left, Li Zhirui withdrew the wood hiding technique and looked at the direction they left with cold eyes. Fellow Taoist, you are very capable, the giant cultivator guard in the city gate smiled and praised. That's right. Giant cultivators are actually used to guard the city gate in the central region. Of course, this kind of giant is generally a giant form with no hope for the future, or with the help of external forces, but even so, when Li Zhirui saw it for the first time, his heart was mixed with mixed feelings. He felt shocked and a little humiliated. After all, he was just a giant cultivator. Even if his cultivation was a little higher, he was still just a giant. Seeing cultivators of the same realm as him guarding the city gate, he could not help but feel a sense of sympathy. You are too kind, fellow Taoist. When Shaochang Jinden looked at Li Zhirui, he could not help but feel a little envious. Just by looking at Li Zhirui's situation, he knew that he was a 100-year-old giant, a child of destiny who could enter the mysterious realm of 10,000 immortals, so he would sell it well and watch Li Zhirui perform the wood hiding technique in front of him without exposing him. It seems that fellow Taoist is from the outside world, Shaochang Jinden said to himself. Fellow Taoist may have just arrived in the central region not long ago, and hasn't heard some rumors yet. What rumors? Combined with the situation just now, Li Zhirui had already made some guesses in his mind. Rumors that many giant monks were seriously injured or even died. Since he had planned to sell it well, he naturally didn't care about this. Hearing this, Li Zhirui's eyes flashed with a hint of sternness, and then his expression returned to calm, and he smiled lightly. Thank you for telling me, fellow Taoist. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 372 Witness. These bottles of elixir were made by me personally, please don't despise them, fellow Taoist. After saying that, Li Zhirui took out several bottles of high-quality third-grade elixir as a thank you gift. It's just a few words, although he said so, he still quickly put the jade bottle into his pocket. After all, he, a giant cultivator, was nothing in the central region, otherwise he would not come to guard the city gate. I have something else to do, so I'll take my leave first. Li Zhirui bowed his head and then entered the immortal city again. You can easily come up with such a high-quality elixir. It seems that you have an extraordinary background, but if you have a high background, why don't you have 1 or 2 servants around you? How could you not know the dirty tricks of these ghosts and evil spirits in the central region before the secret realm was opened? The city guard shook his head, too lazy to think about these contradictory things. Anyway, it had nothing to do with him. Li Zhirui, who returned to the city, was frowning at this time. After thinking for a moment, he took a wrong step and found a busy restaurant to inquire, or eavesdrop on various news. Senior, please take a look at the menu first. If you need anything, please tell me. Li Zhirui found an empty table and sat down. A waiter came up to greet him. Well, Li Zhirui picked up the jade slip and asked casually while reading it, is there anything new recently? Tell me about it. There are indeed a few things. The waiter's eyes lit up. They were not afraid of customers having requests, but they were afraid that they didn't have any. After all, only if they had requests, they would have tips. First, during this period, several giant seniors were seriously injured or even died. Then he lowered his voice and whispered, "It is said that although these seniors were of ordinary origin, they were very powerful and very likely to ascend to the upper levels of the stone tower. Some major forces did not want to see them rise, so they made some moves." Li Zhirui was shocked when he heard this. He did not doubt the truth of this statement at all, because no matter from which perspective, those major forces were the most motivated. Then he couldn't help but feel lucky. Fortunately, he had outstanding inspiration and was not famous, so he would not be closely watched by those major forces. But what Li Zhirui didn't know was that his previous performance of escaping a disaster had been transmitted back to their sect with the 10 golden elixirs, raising his hunting level a lot. Second, it is said that a 5th grade spiritual medicine appeared in the east. Dozens of gods fought for it, and the sky collapsed and the earth cracked, but the battlefield was chaotic, and no one knew who it fell into the hands of in the end. 5th grade spiritual medicine. Li Zhirui was envious. You know, Zuanetun realm is just a small world, and the upper limit of cultivation is only the transformation of the gods. It can be said that this spiritual medicine has touched the ceiling of the Ming dynasty. However, he was very skeptical about this news. You know, everything has spirits and can embark on the road of cultivation. Maybe the probability of the birth of the demon race from dead things such as plants, mountains and rocks is extremely low, but it is not impossible. At least this 5th grade spiritual medicine has a very high foothold and must have transformed into a demon. It even escaped in front of those gods. But think about it, the spiritual medicine of the demon may not be good at this or that, but the most proficient magical power is to escape underground. Are there any other news? Li Zhirui asked calmly. Yes, it is said that the Wang family is preparing to hold the Xianjiao conference and is inviting all the Jinden cultivators from all over the world to discuss the Dao and complement each other. If it was before, Li Zhirui might have agreed. After all, he also wanted to see how strong other cultivators were. Only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you win every battle. But after knowing that the death of those cultivators was closely related to the big forces, he immediately gave up this idea. He was worried that he would be targeted after this incident. Well, then Li Zhirui took out a bottle of 2nd level elixir and said, "It's ready. Send the spirit stones up quickly." The guy left tactfully. A bottle of 2nd level elixir of good quality was a very high tip. What should I do next? Li Zhirui asked himself in his heart. His original plan was to train in the central region in order to break through the bottleneck, but now it seems that the risk is too great. There is definitely more than one big force that is attacking the 100-year-old golden elixir, and this means that there are many ambushing teams in the wilderness. If Li Zhirui had accidentally fallen into someone else's ambush during his training that day, he would have to take the blame for the killing. But if he didn't train, he would have to stay in the small fairy city and wait for a year or two before finding a way to enter the secret realm. No. Sitting and waiting for death has never been Li Zhirui's style. Moreover, he was stopped now. When the secret realm was opened, the blockage would be even more serious. After thinking about it, he finally decided to go outside and take a walk to see the specific situation in person. If the situation was okay, he planned to study hard, but if there were too many ambushed monks, Li Zhirui would choose to get close to the place where the secret realm was opened, so that there would be fewer obstacles. After eating the spiritual food, Li Zhirui saw that it was getting early, so he prepared to set off again. "Dao, are you going out again?" the Jinden guard in the city asked in surprise when he saw Li Zhirui coming. "Well, let's go outside and take a look." Hearing what Li Zhirui said, the city guard Jinden, who originally wanted to persuade him, immediately shut up and watched him go away. At first, it was calm, but when the sun was about to set, a big battle suddenly broke out not far in front of Li Zhirui. Li Zhirui simply put away the spirit ship and flew towards the battlefield carefully. He saw that there were a total of 12 Jindens on the scene, and one was a wounded monk. The monk was different from Li Zhirui. He was not alone. This time he came to the central region with more than a dozen monks, such as followers and guardians arranged by his family. Even if they were not all Jindens, there must be several of them. But now, all these monks are dead and have become corpses on the ground. The monk may not be dead yet, but he is also at the end of his strength. "Who is it?" A sudden shout made Li Zhirui, who was hiding not far away, feel nervous. Then, with a thought, he went directly into the space from the big tree where he was hiding. This was also what Li Zhirui had combined not long ago. In this way, he could directly enter the space without worrying about the space being exposed. It can be said that his ability to save his life was greatly enhanced. "Brother, Are you a little bit paranoid? Where is there anyone over there? Lu Oming, who first noticed something was wrong, had a flash of doubt in his eyes. He believed in his perception secret method, but their attack did not take out the man. Could it be that he made a wrong judgment? However, Li Zhirui's move gave the cultivator a chance to survive. While the other party was distracted, he quickly tore open a teleportation talisman and fled from here. Chapter 373 Chaos. It must be said that the cultivator had caught the right moment. Although he was seriously injured, at least his life was safe. Humph. Junior brother Luo is really amazing. You are the only one who found out what's wrong there. Yeah, we are all useless people. However, Luo Ming's fellow disciples were extremely dissatisfied with him. Several of them spoke up one after another, saying something sarcastically. After all, killing the 100-year-old golden elixir was a very important task for them. If they completed it well, the sect would definitely not be stingy with rewards. Another reason was that their ambush this time had caused considerable losses. Several people were injured, and they were waiting for the sect's rewards and the savings of these cultivators to heal their wounds. But now someone escaped. Not only did they not catch the big fish, but they also had to face the sect's punishment. How could they be happy? Even the leader was not without resentment in his heart, so he did not stop everyone from discovering it at first. However, they were from the same sect after all, and what they said was getting more and more unpleasant, so he had to stand up and whispered, "Enough. This is just an accident. There are so many 100-year-old golden elixirs coming to the central region now, and we can just take one hut back to the sect to report." Having said that, he also understood in his heart that this matter was nothing. It is true that the 100-year-old golden elixirs are rare, but the Immortal Way occupies at least 70% of the Zuinitan realm, and the number of cultivators is no less than hundreds of millions. With such a huge base, I don't know how many qualified golden elixir cultivators can be accumulated over hundreds of years. But the golden elixir cultivators from big forces must know these despicable means in the central region. They either have the protection of their elders and the company of their fellow disciples, or they stay indoors. Those golden elixir cultivators from small forces may not know before, but now that there have been so many accidents with a 100-year-old golden elixir in the outer domain, will they still not know? It must be said that Li Zhirui was lucky. She had just arrived in the central region when she heard about this matter, and then she hid carefully. Those who can cultivate to the golden core realm must be smart people, because if they are not smart enough, they would have died on this road of seeking the truth, even if they have the protection of their elders. However, since the head brother has spoken, they naturally have to give some face, and no one speaks to exclude Lu Oming, but no one approaches him, and their eyes are full of disgust. Li Zhirui is not very clear about the situation outside, because after hiding in the space, he can't see the situation outside, so he estimated that it took a few hours before he came out of the space. No wonder the major forces in the central region can firmly control this precious land. Li Zhirui's words were full of sarcasm. Of course, it is a bit extreme to say this. After all, it is impossible for them to prosper for a long time just by using such shady means. It seems that in the next 1 or 2 years, all parts of the central region will be extremely chaotic. Li Zhirui was very helpless, because this affected his experience and the plan to purchase various spiritual objects for the family. The former is because the major forces sent disciples to hunt down the lone 100-year-old golden elixir. Although Li Zhirui is confident in his own strength, he does not have much confidence in defeating the opponent without injury or even with minor injuries. Once seriously injured, it will affect the secret realm in the near future. Losing more for less is more than gain. The latter is to be able to shop around. Sometimes saving a little spiritual stone can buy a few more spiritual objects and enhance the family's heritage. This is based on the first point. After all, Li Zhirui is not training outside. How can he go to more markets and immortal cities? How should he compare prices? He shook his head helplessly and stopped thinking about it. Instead, he began to consider going to the stone pagoda immortal city closest to the secret realm. That's right, the name of this immortal city is named after the inheritance stone tower in the secret realm. It is only 10 miles away from the secret realm. For the golden elixir cultivator, it can be reached in just a few breaths. Why does Li Zhirui want to go to this immortal city? Because the distance is close enough. Once the secret realm is opened, many golden elixirs will definitely rush forward. It will not be easy to deal with people at that time, and it will also arouse public anger. After making up his mind, He took out the map he bought in the previous fairy city, sketched and finalized the route, and soon, Li Zhirui made a decision. He did not choose a convenient shortcut, but chose a more troublesome mountain road. The main purpose was to bypass the hunting teams of major forces. Even if he could not avoid them, at least there would be fewer of them. As for the monsters in the mountains, it's not that there are none, but the highest is the 3rd level. If it is higher, it will be killed by the big forces. So these monsters are almost not dangerous to these two people. However, when entering the mountains, there is a road. Clang! At the moment when the sound of breaking through the air sounded, Li Zhirui sacrificed kindling to block this assassination and ambush. Get out! Li Zhirui was fierce this time. The 2 ambushes made him angry, and he planned to vent it well, otherwise he was afraid that he would get sick. So when Li Zhirui attacked, it was a killing move. The overwhelming vines whistled away, and there were also water and wood divine lights hidden in them. If anyone dared to underestimate the lethality of the vines, he would be skinned alive. After all, the opponent had a large number of people. Although his attack was powerful, the effect of attacking 10 giants separately, especially those from powerful forces, would not be very good, but several monks were injured. You really think highly of me, a nobody, and you actually sent so many disciples to kill me, Li Zhirui sneered, and then the spiritual light was shining, like an extremely sharp sword, slashing at the opponent fiercely. This actually had nothing to do with him. After all, they didn't know who would pass by here, maybe just for insurance. As a result, the giant and monks Li Zhirui faced were not the kind of team of 10 people he had seen before, but as many as 15 people, and their cultivation was at least in the middle stage of giant, far exceeding the hunting monk team he had seen before. After several rounds of fighting, Li Zhirui was full of emotion. They were indeed trained by a big force. Even if they were not carefully trained true disciples, they were still quite powerful. However, the 15 people were getting more and more frightened. They had never thought that Li Zhirui had such a strong fighting power. He could fight 1 against 15 for several rounds, and he was not at a disadvantage at the beginning. With such strength, even those 100-year-old golden elixirs in their sect could not do it. However, Li Zhirui was alone. He was strong at the beginning, but gradually fell into disadvantage, and the situation became worse and worse for him. Chapter 374 Opening. But even so, Li Zhirui did not use the formation and talismans, and even did not call Daking and Zhaoking to help, because he was confident that he could leave calmly, and there was no need to waste those precious spiritual objects. If he called 2 spiritual beasts, it would be difficult for him to hide. That's right. Li Zhirui was going to use the wood hiding technique and then escape into the space. They couldn't do anything to him. Even if he didn't have space, he could leave, but he was not so calm and had to pay some price. Li Zhirui pinched his hands, and then the whole person seemed to be wiped out, and suddenly disappeared without a trace. Where are the people? Why did they suddenly disappear? For a while, everyone was a little panicked. The leader thought of the magic formula, and after pondering for a while, he said, it should be that some escape technique or a high-level concealment magic was used, but there was no breath leaking at all, and we can't find any clues at all. Then brother, don't we have to give up? A cultivator asked unwillingly. The senior brother frowned and said uncertainly, it's not that there is no way, but I'm not sure if it will work. It may take some time, then let's give it a try. Anyway, if we go back to the sect now, we will be punished. We might as well give it a try. As soon as these words came out, the cultivators who wanted to oppose changed their minds instantly. My only way is to wait. The leading senior brother shook his head secretly in his heart. For some reason, he felt that this matter was unlikely to be completed, but everyone was unwilling to retreat. What else could he do as a senior brother? Whether it was the talisman used by Li Zhirui or the magical power he displayed, it would consume mana. Once the mana was consumed, Li Zhirui would naturally come out. Unfortunately, they waited for several hours, but they didn't wait for Li Zhirui to come out. This is impossible, the leading senior brother shouted. Whether it is magical power or talisman, it requires mana to maintain. Even if he is a perfect golden elixir, he can't hold on for so long, but now that things have come to this, they can only give up. It's impossible for them to stay outside and not go back in order to avoid punishment. Doing so will only make things worse. Li Zhirui was also worried that there were people outside, so he stayed in the space for several days, doing what he had done before, taking good care of the elixir, and then slowly left the space. There were no more accidents on the way back. After all, there were many mountains and forests, and it was impossible to block them even if they joined hands. After a period of running around, Li Zhirui finally arrived at the stone pagoda Immortal City. There is no need to talk about the tall and majestic walls and so on. What impressed him most was the charm of the Immortal City. That is, history and culture. It is worthy of being the stone pagoda Immortal City. Li Zhirui couldn't help but sigh. Of course, a familiar voice came from behind him, smiling and saying, "The secret realm was born, and the Immortal City was established the day after tomorrow. There is only a difference of more than 100 years. Dao can imagine how long this Immortal City has existed." Li Zhirui turned around and saw the person coming. His pupils shrank suddenly, because this person was the Buxiu Wang Daozi he met in the East region. But at this time he changed his appearance, and the other party did not recognize him. Is this God's will or man's will? If it is the former, perhaps the two of them have a fate in the secret realm, but if it is the latter, then don't blame him for being ruthless and merciless. Dao is awesome, Li Zhirui said perfunctorily, and then he went straight into the city to find a place to live. Unexpectedly, Wang Daozi seemed to be pestering him, asking questions all the way, as if he wanted to further develop their friendship, but Li Zhirui acted a little lukewarm. "Dao, what do you think of this place?" Wang Daozi looked at the small courtyard in front of him and said, "First, and it's very close to the courtyard where I am, so it will be convenient for you to visit me when the time comes." Li Zhirui was also very satisfied at first, but the latter sentence completely dispelled his idea. Living with Wang Daozi? Wouldn't he be visited every day? Then he went to several other courtyards, picked out a good one, and decided on this place. After returning to the east and the west, Wang Daozi was full of excitement. He thought he would never meet Li Zhirui again, so he planned to come to the 10,000 Immortal Secret Realm to see if there were any powerful cultivators, so that he could make friends with one or two, which would be beneficial to his cultivation. That's right. The reason why Wang Daozi had been pestering Li Zhirui before was because he had taken a fancy to Li Zhirui and thought that he would have great achievements in the future. He wanted to make friends with him, and then use this fate to speed up his own cultivation. It is said that the practice of forming a bond was originally the fundamental method of the Fox clan, so there are so many fox demons who have left their names in history. Regardless of whether they are good or bad, they can be passed down for hundreds of years, and they must have their own extraordinary features. This kind of demon clan method is not uncommon in the Immortal Way, and after so many years, it has long been integrated into the Immortal Way, and has nothing to do with the previous method. Wang Daozi's practice method has many advantages. As long as the person who forms a bond has a prosperous luck and is unstoppable, he can get a lot of feedback, thereby promoting his own progress. This time, just pretend that you don't know his identity. Don't be too anxious. Take your time, so as not to rouse his vigilance. Wang Daozi calmed his agitated heart. Li Zhirui had avoided him before. Afterwards, Wang Daozi also thought about what happened and gradually realized a little truth. This time, he will never make the same mistake again. So Wang Daozi became much more restrained. He would come to the door after a few days, and every time he came, he would discuss with Li Zhirui, and also talk about the information he collected in the Immortal City. It was also because of the latter that Li Zhirui had such frequent contact with Wang Daozi. After all, his ability to collect information was far inferior to Wang Daozi. I don't know, recently, the central region has been full of strange phenomena. Countless natural treasures have been born, and a bloody storm has been set off. Countless cultivators have died because of this, and even the 100-year-old giant has died several people. Wang Daozi's eyes flashed with sympathy, sadness, pity and other emotions, which were extremely complicated. Li Zhirui understood his emotions. After all, when a rabbit dies, a fox mourns. As soon as they came to the central region, they encountered countless conspiracies and intrigues. For example, how many of the visions and natural treasures mentioned by Wang Daozi were real, and how many were man-made? No one knew. No, perhaps the big forces that control this matter knew. Dao, why do you have to think too much? You and I are just golden elixirs. It's good enough to be able to take care of ourselves. Li Zhirui was a little cold-blooded than Wang Daozi. And from another perspective, the actions of the big forces were also beneficial to them. Chapter 375 asking. In fact, because Wang Daozi often visited, the relationship between the two people was a little closer. Although they could not be called close friends, it was okay to say that they were friends. Alice, Wang Daozi sighed heavily, and after a long silence, he said in a hoarse voice, "There is not much time left before the secret realm is opened. This means that the major forces have to stop this matter, but from another perspective, it is very likely to evolve into the final madness, and every possible means will be used. Maybe the number of monks who died in the end will be more than the total number before." Li Zhirui did not take this matter to heart, because in his opinion, in this case, if those monks fell into the trap again, there would be no hope. Such stupid people will die sooner or later, it's just a matter of time. There are more than 3 months left, just wait, Li Zhirui said in a flat tone. Wang Daozi was able to cultivate to his current realm, so he naturally would not be a very kind person. Seeing Li Zhirui's reaction, he did not dwell on the matter anymore, and instead said, "Dao, how much do you know about the secret realm?" Li Zhirui raised his eyebrows slightly, and told him what he knew about the secret realm. It is rumored that the 10,000 immortal secret realm was opened up by the immortals of the universe, and its purpose was to pass down the immortal Taoism in this world. Among them, the stone tower is an immortal weapon with 9 floors. It has 2 magical powers, Sumeru mustard seed and refining the false into true. Therefore, the test in the stone tower seems to be real, but in fact it is an illusory image of a rootless duckweed. Wang Daozi just nodded, but did not continue talking about this topic, but said, "Then Dao, do you know how the stone tower can meet our requirements after passing the trial?" This, Li Zhirui shook his head. He had thought about this problem before, but he had no access to relevant information, so he was not very clear about it. It is said that there is an immortal artifact Wanbao pool on the 9th floor of the stone tower. As long as it collects a kind of spiritual object, it can be constructed with spiritual energy. As for the cultivation method, Wanbao pool will exist forever as long as it is copied once. As for how Wanbao pool collected all the spiritual objects from the ancient times to the present, from low to high in Zuinitan realm, it is unknown. Perhaps this is the method of those legendary immortals. So that's it. Li Zhirui did not comment on this statement. After all, these things are too fantasy and high-end, and have nothing to do with him, a small giant and cultivator. However, Li Zhirui felt a little amused that Wang Daozi could know this rumor that only circulated among a few people. His background is definitely extraordinary. But Li Zhirui thought of the scene when he first met Wang Daozi, and felt a little strange. He knew so much, his family background must not be too low, but if he came from a powerful force, why was he hunted down? And why is he alone here? Although Li Zhirui was curious, he did not think of asking. After all, it is not possible to talk about deep friendship. After the two exchanged greetings, Wang Daozi said goodbye and left. Li Zhirui also returned to the quiet room and began to adjust to his state after the secret realm was open to ensure that he was in the best combat power. Is this the Stone Pagoda Immortal City? Li Zhirui looked at the city in front of her that had been washed by the long years, and was a little dazed. I don't know what she thought of. I think Brother Nine is in this immortal city. As for whether to find him, Li Zhirui already had the answer in her heart. After all, with her strength, it would be fine if she didn't encounter any trouble. Once she encountered a cultivator in the secret realm, she might be in danger. If she was with Li Zhirui, she wouldn't have to worry about this problem. What's more, Li Zhirui still had a lot of spiritual objects on him. If possible, she also wanted to share some from him to enhance her own strength. Li Zhirui knew in her heart that it was not good for her to do this, but she had no choice. In order to avenge Li Zhirui, she could ignore everything. After entering the immortal city, Li Zhirui took out the communication talisman of Li Zhirui given to her by Li Shiking. The talisman was activated, and it immediately turned into a beam of spiritual light, flying towards a certain place in the city. In less than a quarter of an hour, the communication talisman flew in front of Li Zhirui. How come there is my communication talisman? Could it be that someone from the family has come? Li Zhirui immediately stood up and walked outside. He didn't know who the person was and why he had come all the way here. Could it be that something happened to the family? Thinking of this, Li Zhirui was suddenly startled, and his expression became a lot flustered. He hurriedly walked towards the door. Soon, Li Zhirui appeared in his sight. Where are the other people in the family? Li Zhirui didn't understand. What do you mean by other people? Brother Jiu, I came here alone. Don't you want to welcome me? No, I just didn't react for a while, and I thought something happened to the family. Li Zhirui explained a little embarrassedly. At the same time, Li Zhirui only remembered at this time that in addition to him, there was also Li Zhirui, the 100-year-old golden elixir in the family. However, the situation outside is so complicated. How did you get here? Li Zhirui smiled slightly. There was nothing mysterious about her method. She just hid her identity and didn't let outsiders know that her destination was the Stone Pagoda Immortal City, and even the 10,000 Immortal Secret Realm that was about to open. And she relied on dressing up as an old woman to deceive many cultivators. After all, no one would have thought that a white-haired old woman was actually a young golden elixir. Although he and Li Zhirui hadn't seen each other for many years, but just this short contact, Li Zhirui found that she had changed a lot. As for whether it was good or bad, it had nothing to do with him. After all, the relationship between the two did exist. I want to ask Brother Jiu for a batch of spiritual talismans and spiritual pills, in case of emergency. Before saying it, naturally, I didn't think there was anything wrong, but after really saying it, Li Zhirui felt a little ashamed, because the things she asked for were all Li Zhirui's. Here you go. Li Zhirui gave away all the spiritual objects in his hand without hesitation, and asked, by the way, is it enough? Thank you, Brother Jiu. Li Zhirui was very grateful, but on the other hand, she felt more and more guilty. Li Zhirui shook his head. The family was afraid that there would not be enough. So they prepared a large number of spiritual objects for him. What he gave away now was just a drop in the bucket. It was also very good to be able to enhance Li Zhirui's strength. However, although Li Zhirui did not say it, Li Zhirui also guessed at this time she entered the secret realm and went to the stone tower for trial. The reward she got would definitely not be for the family, but most likely for herself. This made Li Zhirui a little uncomfortable, but there was no way. After all, this was a personal choice, and the family did not give her this feeling. He couldn't ask everyone to make selfless contributions, right? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.